Oh, are we on the air? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Ask a Black Man Anything. We have a great star-studded lineup for you tonight for tonight's episode. We have Mr. Chris Davis, Colin Hardiman, Shannon Rawls, Shahid Muhammad, Beth Stewart, Robert Longmire, and Duran. And let's not forget DB, Darryl. Hope you enjoyed tonight's show, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be a doozy. What up, Chris?
Good evening.
In fact, I want you to marry the idea that you.
Happy birthday, Colin.
Much appreciation, man. Thank you. Another rotation around the sun.
And we're black. Good evening. It is another beautiful Thursday. Welcome to the Thursday night's edition of Ask a Black Man Anything. We are excited to have you all here. And first of all, happy birthday to this guy. Give everybody an opportunity to say happy birthday, happy 41st birthday. Made another rotation around the sun. I don't know why people say that because I don't think we're really rotating around the sun, but that's a whole nother story. But we won't talk about that. Anyways, how's it feel, man? I hate when people, how do you feel? I felt the same way I did yesterday when I was 40. But
and that's my exact answer.
I'm sure you're, a day closer to, bliss.
Not the eternal bliss, but yes.
No. You're moving closer to the day that has evaded you for a little bit. So, excited to see. And is it going to be a traditional thing, or are you guys going to just jump the broom and tell everybody later? Or you don't want to spoil it because you get a review on the show the next morning? Mr. Muhammad.
What's going on? How y'all doing?
Good evening.
What's going on?
Why can I not find what I'm looking for? This is so crazy. I can never find what I'm looking for.
What's going on, Colin?
Okay. I can't find what I'm looking for anyways. But good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining tonight's episode of Ask a Black Man Anything. I'm back in my original location. So yes, you'll see the I Can Do All Things with Love and the Hello Beautiful. So all I did was just move to a different area in my residence. So I'm not filming on location. I was watching the playoffs in June, and So my TV is not too far, and I want to make sure I was, comfortable. But I am happy to be on this show again, doing it again, doing it well. For you youngsters, that's LL Cool J. Anyways, what's the new news, Colin, man? How's your week been?
It's been all right. Been a pretty rough week, but pushed through it. So I really can't believe it's Friday again. It seemed like it was Friday 2 days ago. So time is really relative, but making it do what it do. Shaheed, how about you?
Oh man, life is good. Chilling. I'm finally in a little, I've been traveling a lot, so finally able to relax. Became a plant dad not too long ago, so I'm learning the ropes on that. Pretty fun.
Sound real excited about that.
Oh, it's cool, man. Honestly, it's like, man, it's no lie. Having horses and dealing with children is much easier than managing plants, man.
Really?
Facts. It teaches you a lot of patience and understanding. Like plants really have their own personalities, and it's a lot, man. It's a lot of maintenance.
What got you into that?
My girl actually, when she had tore her Achilles, and so when she was down on bed rest, I had to keep her plants and everything up, and so it was and I got a kind of like a man cave / bachelor pad, so I was just like, you know what, let me liven this up a little bit. I just put up my 88-inch screen, so that kind of took a lot away from the room because it's so big. So I was just like, let me throw some plants and jazz it up a little bit.
Okay. Ficus coming soon. What's up, Jerron?
Hey y'all, what's going on?
Not much, man. Chilling. How was your week?
Oh man, my week been good. It's been I've been back swimming, so this is my second time at it. So steady trying to get better at it. It's like one of those skills where you got to continue to practice it. I notice when it comes to kids, man, they swim easily, man. It's like they don't have no fear. When it comes to adults, if you've never swum before, it can be a challenging process. But I'm enjoying it though. Like I said, we were supposed to have swim lessons today, but we didn't have them due to the pool getting cleaned out. So we'll be back at it next week. But I went Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday this week. So it went well. Like challenging, but I enjoyed it though. I think I always said when it comes to swimming, it's one of those life skills that all Black people may need to, think about actually doing.
What, swimming?
So you're not swimming. I mean, of course, I'm not to the point where you swimming where you're going off in the deep end, but at least being able to swim at least basic level. Because we know that's something that Black people don't do. They don't want to be in the water. They don't want to learn how to swim. So I'm just trying to step outside of my comfort zone and do something different.
Funny that you mentioned. I was talking to my sister today about swimming. She just put her kids in swimming classes. So pop quiz, Jerron. If you're caught in the current, what do you do?
Look, I don't know that.
I'll give you multiple choice. So A, you swim as hard as you can to try to get out the current. B, you go underwater and go with the current. Or C, you do nothing. Or D, all the above. Or D, pray to God.
I don't know. For some reason, I want to say you go underwater.
Negative. The answer is C. You go with the current. You go with the flow, brother. Because fighting against it is just going to make you tired. You're not going to get out of a current. Like you got thousands of pounds of water rushing towards you or fighting against you. So it's just like you're not going to beat Mother Nature. So it's just like when you just go with the current, preferably on your back, because you're facing straight up, you can get air. You just go with the flow and let the current take you where it's going to take you. That might be what you don't want to happen, but it's just like, but you let the current take you where it's going to take you. And then when you get to a shallow stream or it pushes you off to the side where you can grab onto something, then you pull yourself out. But you're supposed to go with the flow.
Hey, I ain't no fool though, so my plan ain't even to be in the current.
Just in case. Never know. Never know when you accidentally go into a wave pool. 12-foot wave pool.
I thought it was you supposed to go under. I learned something new today.
Y'all can fact check me. Y'all can fact check me on that.
Hey, I'm like Jerron. I don't plan on
Being in the current.
Yeah.
I personally love swimming, especially when I go to Austin around this time, especially in the summer. Barton Springs pool. It's a natural spring. It's like 68-degree water. It's extremely cold. That first dive into it it's a doozy, but once you get used to the water, it's rejuvenating. But I think it goes up to like 14 feet. And it's pretty wide too. So it's just like there's a lot of deep parts because it's a natural spring. So I always challenge myself and I look across and it's like literally maybe 25, 30 feet across. And I just say to myself, it's like, hey, you gonna try to do this? Because like once you go out in the middle, it's like ain't no turning back. So it's like you're gonna swim it. And then, sometimes I'll do it and I'll get like to the midway point and I'm just stroking. And then as I look up and it's like, golly, I still got like more than half the way to go. And then I'll just turn on my back and I'll just start backpedaling or just swimming on my back, just like literally just pushing with my legs, but laying on my back. And it's smooth. So it's just like most people don't get swimming down because like they panic. So when people start panic, that's what messes them up. And makes them start.
I actually taught myself how to swim a few years ago, but I don't mess with open water though. So I'm good.
Why you don't mess with open water?
Most of the time you can't see. Open water. I mean, if it's something like, the water is clear enough, I wouldn't mind it, but I don't plan on swimming out in the ocean. Or I actually did. I went camping one time and I was out in a lake. I forgot. I think it was Lake. It's in California. I want to say, what was that lake called? Piru Lake. I swam out in that, and then something I couldn't see, something came across my foot, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm good.
Hey, Shaheed had a leaf come across his foot in the ocean. Hey, but look, real talk, it only takes like the littlest bit of nothing to like rub you, and you're like, nah, you know what? That's a shark. I'm good. I knew
it wasn't no shark, and I just was like, I couldn't mess with it, man. Like,
but like, see, my mind go to, I don't want nothing to drag me, wasn't to catch my leg or nothing like that. So, what up, DB?
A couple years ago, I think maybe 3, maybe 4 years ago, that actress, she died in that same lake.
Oh yeah,
I forgot what her name was.
It was on Glee, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was with her son or something. And that same lake.
You screen sharing with us, Colin, so we can see.
Yeah, I was correct. So if you can float, what do you do if you're caught in a rip current? If you can float, you might just want to relax and go with the flow. Rip currents do not usually go out very far. Let the rip current carry you out until it slows down or a short distance offshore. So yep, I was right.
One thing that I've learned though is when I have kids, I think I'm gonna teach them. I think I'm gonna get them out there to swimming early while they're young.
I learned how to swim in the 5th grade. Like that's when so it was like, what's crazy is, I'm from Buffalo, and there are just Lake Erie, Lake Huron, there are lakes around, but I didn't go swim in those. But it was like a standard practice that you would learn how to swim. I mean, I literally learned each part of swimming, put my head in the water and breathe in, that, and then, learn how to, do the stroke and learn how to kick my feet. And then before you knew it, I put it all together. But I haven't swam in Golly, years.
Funny
I
thing in the
learned.
Navy,
I learned the worst.
though.
Oh, go ahead, Daryl.
Funny thing in the Navy, to pass the swim test in order to get out of boot camp. So you have to do is determine if you tilt your shoulders back and your head float, your body stop moving and you'll float. It's under the bottom of the pool, pulling your legs so you tilt back. So you got to tread 1 minute that they tell you to, and when you blow it's the real deal. My audio chop liver.
Yeah, it's choppy. But I was gonna say I learned the worst possible way because being the baby of the family, having two older brothers, go to the neighborhood pool. It's like there was a shallow one, and then there was the big Olympic-sized pool that went from like 5 feet all the way to like 13 feet. So my brothers would literally, I'm a little kid, they would literally come pick me up out of shallow water. I'm yelling at the top of my lungs, and lifeguards are looking at me like, are you good? Or you really need help? And they're just like waving them off like, no, he's fine, he's fine. And then they'll literally just dump me in the 5-foot pool, and they be like, swim. I'm just like panicking. They're like, swim or drown.
Swim, Slim.
I learned the worst possible way. It definitely helped. I don't recommend anyone do that to their kids, but it definitely helped me. And I didn't start diving into pools until late, maybe till I was like in my mid-20s. It's nerve-wracking when people think about diving in a pool because they think they're just going to hit their head on hard water. But when you extend your arms are the first thing, or your hands are your first thing that goes into the water. So it actually breaks up the water. That little ripple effect makes it extremely smooth when you go in, when the rest of your body goes in. But enough about swimming. Can y'all hear me? Okay. DB, are you still talking? I see.
No, you must be on it. You coming in loud.
So I was going in and out. Y'all couldn't hear me?
No, I heard you fine.
Okay. DB, I think it might be your connection.
I'm going to try to use these headphones. Let me see what happens.
And that is today's lesson in swimming, y'all. Y'all learned so much today.
What made you want to start swimming lessons, Jerron?
Well, so we're doing them at my church. So, I mean, look, they're at the church. Last year, my mom, at first I wasn't going to do it. But my mom was like, hey, you might as well go out there and just, try to learn how to do it. And so I don't know what exactly transpired for me to just kind of be like, I'm going to go give it a go. But I just decided to try something different. I've gotten in the water here and there, but I just always see people in the water, and I'm like, man, it would be fun to kind of at least be able to
enjoy it.
Yeah. So got out there, and like I said, it's kind of difficult in a sense because I wear glasses and contacts. So if I can't wear the glasses, I have to put the contacts on. So I have to make sure I wear goggles because if I don't,
right,
I gotta have contacts on. Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to see. So it makes it a little difficult, but I'm enjoying myself. Like I said, I'm glad that I decided to give it a try. Like I said, I might not be proficient at it, but I feel like the more you do it, the better you'll get at it.
Yeah,
I haven't mastered diving yet. I'm still a little skittish when it comes to going off the diving board. Shahid, you shouldn't be scared. It's just like there ain't no such thing as deep water for you. Your head is gonna be over water.
Yeah, that's really the reason why it took me so long to learn how to swim, because I never was in water deep enough to where I had to swim. So I was like, what, let me actually force myself to swim. And it took about a few months. Well, not a few months. It took a couple of days, but like to where I could really say I know how to swim. It took about a month or so.
And when you long though, like when you got like a long statue and you tall, it don't take you as many strides to get to the other
Right.
side.
Yeah.
No, you
As
know.
long as you stay afloat and you can move and tread to like get across the water, you good.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, I think so. I did swimming from 4th grade all the way to 12th. So I'm sorry, 5th grade. We went to the pool in 4th grade, but it was always so cold in the wintertime, we didn't get in the pool. So it was no point. And that was our gym class. And I enjoy going to the swimming pool, man. I just, I wish I could have. I wish it was like a thing here in Atlanta, where they have swimming pools at your local middle school, elementary school, what have you. They just have a gym and they got outside. They have pools, around, but you have to actually take some of your kids to the Y, or your little brother or whoever to the Y. If that's you want your kids to learn how to swim. But that aside, speaking of little brothers and family, we had a great episode last week, man. Gerard, you missed a great show last week, man. Not sure if you got a chance to catch it, but I'm sure you saw a little bit of the fireworks on the
Yeah.
on the back end. But it was good. And so if you're joining us for the very first time and you have not seen our show prior to this week, make sure you go to our YouTube show anytime after this show ends, and you catch all of our previous episodes. We put out some of the greatest content from Black men across the YouTube space, social media space. So we'd love for you, and thank you all for being here. We appreciate you for all the subscribers, all the people who are currently watching live, and all those who are watching afterwards. So I thank you for hanging out with us and being with us for as long as you have. This week is a little different because we do talk about relationships a lot. We do talk about the dating diaspora and things like that. But I think what's important is that we bring you all a diverse picture, because we could talk about relationships all day, and I think one of the things that we need to also address is how do we fix the things that are wrong with relationships. But before we go into how do we fix it, we want to talk to you a little bit more about how to build a legacy and what that looks like and how important it is for legacy to be had. What does that look like to Black men? And, how do we pass on all that we have so that our children don't start, or the next generation that we are imparting life into, they don't start from where we started at. And we actually have a great video that we want to share with you tonight in reference to legacy building and just the whole aspect of legacy. And we're going to play that for you tonight. What? Oh, God. You should. I'll send it to you. How do we not have the video? Copy. You mean put it in the chat, or you want me to put it in? You're on mute.
Text it to me.
Send.
In the meantime, go ahead and say what you got to say.
That is what I had to say. I said it all. Said it all before. You heard that song before, DB? Heard it all before? You know, I just got a bunch of songs in my head.
You doing a live concert tonight, bro?
No, I don't want our show to get muted, so no live concerts.
All right.
I will say, speaking of live concerts, man, I went to see Earthquake, the comedian, on Sunday, man, and I had an amazing time. Just it was good. I had not seen. So I got a few buddies that are comedians, and one of them tours. And he actually was doing a show right around the corner from the house tonight. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go, but I'm like, whatever, I'm not going. I didn't feel like going. But I got a chance to see Earthquake and a couple of I saw two DC comedians, and then one, I can't remember the older guy's name. So it was an older guy. He had to be like in his 50s. He made a joke. And I can't tell the joke, but I'm going to tell you the premise of the joke. He was like, I know a guy that has, I think he said he's he's like 65, and he had a 2-year-old or something like that. And he said his grandson and his son gonna be in the same preschool class. I was dying laughing because I'm like, that's crazy, man. Like I could never imagine having my son being 30 and then being 60, 65, 70, and having a child with a young person, a younger lady, and then both of our children, if we live close enough together, that are in the exact same class. That just would be weird. So if it's my grandson, it wouldn't be your cousin.
Be your uncle. Yeah. It happens though. It's more common than you actually realize.
Yeah, my younger sister is younger than my younger sister. Yeah, my younger sister is younger than most of her nieces and nephews. Not most, but like a good majority of them. Because my mom and dad had 10 children together. So by the time they got to their last child, a couple of my brothers and sisters were on their first child. So it's a lot more common. I think though, it's not really confusing, but I think it's like rare. So a lot of that time they go by cousin instead of like uncle, niece, nephew, aunt, and stuff like that.
Shoot, I had a friend of mine. He just passed away a few years ago, maybe a year ago. He was a great grandfather by the time he turned 52.
Golly.
He had a child at 13. His child had a child at 13, and so on. They hit that 13 cycle, and they were on generation number 4.
See, I just see, and speaking of having kids, one of the things that I tell my boys is, and when my second oldest started to have sex, I told him that we have a couple of rules in reference to sex, and I said I can't stop you from having sex, right? I can't control whether or not, because I'm not gonna see you every day, right? I can't dictate, if you're gonna do it or if you're not gonna do it. If you go to this girl house while I'm at work or whatever the case is, I can't stop you from having sex. But the number one rule is always put on a condom, right? That you are responsible for that young lady's getting pregnant. She can't get pregnant without a male at all. So you need to be responsible. And at first my son was doing the pull-out method, and I'm like, bruh, you playing Russian roulette. You putting a gun to your head, and because it feel good, you want to, just try to pull out. Nah, stop doing that. That's stupid. And then I made it real simple to him. I said, what are you going to do? Because at the time he was a junior in high school. He's a freshman in college now. I said, what are you going to do making $11 an hour and having a baby. Said, how are you going to support the child at $11 an hour? You're not really supporting yourself. The second thing I told him, I said, if you refuse to wear a condom, then the only thing that you could do is have oral sex. You can give it, you can get it, and you're achieving the same result. So,
Chris is dad of the year, man.
I mean, but think about it though. Like, how do you stop them from having sex? You can't, right? But if
you can't stop them. Well, I mean, you can in a sense, but you gotta. I mean, for me, I would take the STD approach. You know what I mean? Because that's it's inevitable. Like once I hit 17 or however old I was, you couldn't. Once I had a taste of it, it was
right.
like, but I think I wouldn't encourage my child to have unprotected sex at all. You know what I mean? Like like I said, you can't prevent a child from having sex, but for me, I wouldn't even give them the impression that it's okay to have unprotected sex in any way, because it's too dangerous. Like, you know what I mean? Even if his pull-out method is the best there ever was, pull-out can't save you from catching that thing. You know what I mean? Like, because
can't save you from herpes, can't save you from HIV.
Once you get, I mean, to an extent, a condom can't either, but that's why for me it's just like I wouldn't even play around. You know what I mean? Because it's way more responsibilities that come with sex, other than just children, even other than the STDs. Like, man,
what is the real definition of legacy?
You'll mess around and have a fatal attraction on your hand. You know what I mean? You mess around and run up one of these little girls, and now you can't get rid of it because you might have taken her virginity, or you know what I mean? I mean, it's just, especially nowadays with sex. Right now, knowing what I know, if I knew what I know now back then, I would try to preserve myself as far as I can. You know what I mean? Because now it's just like these young boys is out here killing over sex, like literally.
That's a fact.
Like, so for me, I'm like, look, it's way too many problems that a young man is not really ready to face when it comes to sex. But yeah, once you get that feel, it's like it's hard to restrain yourself.
It is.
You know what's crazy? I like what Shahid said about if he knew back then what he knows now. Because my father put that fear in me. He didn't even have to talk about sex with me. He just told me it ain't gonna happen. You once you get out this house, you do whatever you want to do, but not while it's in the house. So even when I started to become sexually curious, that fear was there. And then when I got to high school and started playing sports, all my teammates was getting girls pregnant. And them jokers was locked in. They was locked in on Pampers and stuff for the ones that was honorable. Because they really, dudes I grew up with, they had the approach that, hey, they got pregnant, ain't my problem. That's their problem. So, it's a while, and we're talking about legacy. So one of the things that kept me, spotless until I was 19 was the fact that I didn't want to have kids out of wedlock. And that's traditional. It is what it is. But today, we're talking about legacy. A lot of people don't really. It's many people out here that don't really care about their legacy. It's just they want to get what they can get, and if the woman gets pregnant, the girl gets pregnant. It is what it is.
which is a great way to actually segue to our video. Now that we have it, here it is.
What is the real definition of legacy?
Legacy is something that is passed down.
Okay.
To me, it is your mark. It
Yeah.
is your footprint in the earth. It is your contribution to the world.
Yeah.
It is you waking up every day saying, I am going to leave something. And I think too often we've made legacy like I'm going to leave money, or I'm going to leave a house, or I'm going to leave all my cars.
Yeah.
And what we're learning is that, I'm going to leave a good reputation.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave good habits. I'm going to leave a smile throughout my day to a bunch of people. If I asked you right now, think of somebody who's always smiling, always laughing, always makes you feel good. Somebody comes to your mind.
Yes.
That is a legacy. They left a mark on you.
Yeah.
They left an impact.
Yeah.
And so the idea of legacy is, hey, what's your mark? What are you trying to contribute to this world?
So when it comes to legacy, the question is, what is it that you want to pass down? What are the things that are important to you, DB, Shahid, Colin, Jerron? What are those things that are important that you want to, that you know for sure you want to pass down?
I guess I'll go ahead and jump in there. For legacy, definitely wealth, knowledge, the name, tradition. But yeah, just all those tangible things that that's important that I think is lacking in the world today. Just kind of piggybacking off of what y'all said. Yeah, you have to just be more intentional with what you do today, because when people are in the moment, they're not thinking about their kids. They're not thinking about their future kids and future generation, because everything you do today does innately affect your future kids. It's just like if you want to set them up for success, how you are dating and courting and choosing to maneuver in the dating world, it does matter. So when you don't plan, when you just out there being reckless and you just spreading your seed, having kids out there, it has dire consequences, and that stuff really matters. So, but yeah, just the wealth piece, just passing down wealth, having ownership. I would say ownership is a big one. So ownership is actually number one. Ownership, actually leaving them something, whether it's land, business, something that has critical value, and that's always been important for years. So just owning land, knowing the importance and intangibles of owning, and just the power that comes with that. And then, that kind of segues into wealth, because just that passing down that wealth makes life a lot more comfortable. So of course, money doesn't solve all the problems, but it definitely opens up more doors and provides a lot more resources. So, and then just passing down knowledge and wisdom, teaching them how to treat people, just instilling those principles, that integrity, those things that I carry or pride myself upon, because life is all about relationships also. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know also, more so. But I'm not going to I don't want to step in everybody else's answers, but I'm going to just stop there. So.
Yeah, for me, I just lost my father, November of last year, and not a few months ago in May, my uncle. And one thing I've noticed is that the name that they left, when you leave a clean name, it benefits you greatly, or benefits those after you greatly. Like for me, man, the name that my father left behind, I'm good anywhere in this country. You know what I mean? If I just at the mention of my father's name, they roll out the red carpet for me as if it's some type of royalty. And that just goes to show, the type of legacy that he left behind and the impact that he had on the people that he touched. Same with my uncle, which is my namesake. you know, that name Shaheed Muhammad is like, it holds a lot of weight, you know, to where once people find out, oh, that's so and so's nephew, that's so and so's son, you can see not that it was a bad energy, but it's a greater shift in energy once um, they find out who I am and who I belong to. So for me, I want to leave that same type of mark. And obviously, you know, my father left property and things of that nature, but um, a lot of that stuff is not, it means nothing if you can't go certain places. Like, yeah, you got this and that, but you can't, we don't have a respect for your people here. So for me, I want to be able to carry on that, you know, that clean, keep that name that my father left clean. You know what I mean? Like, so that name Muhammad, when it's mentioned in respect to me or my brothers or my nephew or whatever, I wanted to remain stainless and be held in high regard and honor. So um, because even with the wealth and things of that nature, it's if the it can't do nothing for you if nobody wants to attach themselves to it. And even when you have it, to me, it's like it don't mean nothing. Like if you can't benefit from it outside of what's right in front of you. So the name is for me is something that I want to make sure. Like when I'm dead and gone, I don't want my name to be brought back up in a negative light, as far as like, you know, being shady or whatever negative connotation that could be attached to it. So for me, my legacy is just a clean, honorable, respected name that I want to leave behind.
So I'll say that the generational wealth is important, but I think that's something that, you know, I think that's what everybody want to strive to do. I think about when I was back in college and in school like that, and in school I was a high scholastic achiever, so you know I made good grades and had a great GPA, but because I was raised by my grandparents, and so you know at that time they didn't know a whole bunch about student loans and scholarships and all this stuff. And so there were times where I took out a lot more money than I had to take out, to go to a certain type of school just because, um, you know, that's what they tell you you needed to take out. And, you know, being that young, I didn't know anything about finances in regards to that. And so some of those decisions is something that I want to make sure my kids don't have to go through. Um, and that's a part of leaving a legacy, making sure that they're financially stable, making sure they understand finances to the point where they don't have to go through things like that, or they don't even have to take out loans. I want to make sure that when it's time for them to go to school, it's already put away. Dad left this money for you, so you go to school, and not just any school, but any school you want to go to. Not just you got to settle to go to this school because it's the only amount of money we got. You can go to any school you want to go to because I've already set it to the side and made sure that you wouldn't have to go through, you know, some of the things that we've had to go through or some of the struggles that we've had to make. And it leads me to a story. This is something that one of my veterans, I've been working with a veteran in our program, and you all know I work for the VA, the federal government, working with military veterans in our substance abuse program. And so we already know that veterans in recovery, a lot of times they have there's a lot of misconceptions about those veterans due to them using substances. But I have a veteran, good guy, and we were talking last week, and we were talking the week before too. And he gets to talking about his grandkids. You know, he has daughters. His daughter, they're all grown, but he has grandkids. And one thing he continues to tell me each and every single week, he say, "Mr. Jerron, I just wanna, when I leave this earth, I just want my grandkids to know that Paw was a good man." And you know, I'm nowhere near being a granddad. I'm not even a dad yet, but I do want my kids, not even just my kids, but my nephews and my niece to know that their uncle and you know my kids as their father that I was a good man. and I did things the right way, because it's so easy to do things. It's so easy to do things the right way when people watching. You know, when you got eyes on you and everybody's looking at you, it's easy to do the right thing. But I want them to know that I still did the right thing when the cameras were off. There was nobody to see me what I was doing, and I still continued to keep the same attitude and did it for the right reasons. If they know that I did what I was supposed to do, that I gave it my best try, that I treated everybody with respect, that I tried to lend a helping hand and help anybody like that, and that I carried out my duty. That's all I care about. But in the meantime, because if I do those things and I do those things the right way, that generational wealth, that financial literacy, them being financially stable, all those things that come in time if I'm doing things the right way. So long as I continue to hold on to that and move forth with that attitude and those goals I want to accomplish, I feel like I'll be living the right legacy for my children. And not just, like I said, I got to include my nieces and nephew too, because although they're not my children, they're still young, and you want to raise up a child the way you want them to go. And I'll leave it at that.
So it's a good. That's a good perspective, man. And thank you for sharing the veterans' perspective. While I'm not on substances, I've benefited from being part of the United States military and actually getting hurt on active duty. That in itself put me in a position to leave a legacy behind for if I ever had children or if I adopted children down the road. And one of the things that I ascribe to is biblical principles. And with that being said, that legacy that I think of is for my children's children, because I'm gonna be hands-on with my children. That's how I was with my niece and nephew that I raised. But my children's children, they are going to be put in a position to be blessed because I did all the hard work. And like Shahid said, my name carries some weight. So that was one of the reasons why I chose not to have children out of wedlock. I mean, I've had opportunities where women had come to me and say, you're a good man, you're chivalrous, you have innate qualities, you have the characteristics that I would like my child to have. And I've had women propose, father my child, you don't even have to take care of it. To me, that was, kind of, wow, that's where we at now. But I understand the times. I understand what's going on because, people are strategically planning for their legacy. So when you take into perspective the things that you want for a family, the way you've planned your life to go, and it doesn't always go exactly how you want it to go, but if you are planning to leave a legacy, then more than likely you will leave a legacy. And I think if that's your goal in life, which is mine, then it's definitely going to be something that's going to be worthwhile for the children that are waiting for that legacy to manifest. And I turn it back to you, Chris.
Great perspectives. One of the things that that I want to leave, that I'm actually leaving now for my children, is all of the mistakes that I've made. And what I mean by that is everything that I've done, I realize that my children have only been whatever age that they currently are. They've only been that age before. I've already been that age. But they've never been 41, never been 35, never been 42. And I have been able to make enough mistakes in between 0 and 42 and a half to save them from having to make those exact same mistakes. Case in point, my son wanted to quit his job. 19, college freshman, wants to quit his job and make $500,000 a year, right? Extremely ambitious goals. And I asked him, how are you going to survive if it all falls apart? And he had no answer. And here's the thing. The reason why that's part of the lineage or the legacy that I pass on is because nobody asked me that question. When I wanted to go into business and I quit my job and I didn't have any resources to actually fund business, I just had an idea. I needed to pass on that wisdom and that knowledge that I made this mistake already. And then I ask him more in-depth questions like, how are you going to fund your business? How much is $500,000? How much is that monthly? How much is it daily? And how much are your shirts that you want to sell? When we broke the numbers down, he has to sell roughly, I think, 40 shirts at $35 and for 30 days for 12 months consecutive in order to make $500,000. And I'm just like, you don't even know 40 people a day. E-commerce, Dad. Well, e-commerce, no, son. You're not going to blow up overnight because no one knows you. And, there are steps that you have to take in order to get from where you are to where you want to go. And I just saw a something on Instagram earlier that said you either need to bring your work ethic up to your goals or your goals down to your work ethic. And the thing is, you need to be able to do something that's sustainable, do something that you can complete. And one of the things that my children will be able to see is that if I've done nothing else, I've completed a few things. I decided to write 2 books and I published both of them. I decided to publish a board game and I published the board game. There are things that need to be passed down, that need to be shared because I've been through them already and I want my children to live a better life than I have. But here's the thing. I'm not going to try to have them avoid every hardship because that's never going to really happen, right? But I'm going to give them the wisdom that I've gained from the mistakes that I've made. And then I'm going to ask them to do for their children what I'm doing for them. Everything that I've learned, I'm giving it to you. You now take it and you pass it to your children and you tell your children to pass it to theirs. That's a larger sense of wealth of knowledge, rather than just money, right? Because if you fall and scrape your knee and nobody tells you how to fix it, you could bleed out, right? But if that information is passed along, even as time goes along, the Bible says that there's nothing new under the sun. And because there's nothing new under the sun, that means that everything that has begun will sooner or later come back around. And it's so interesting just being a dad, specifically of boys, you see that your children will do some of the exact same things that you did when you were their age or younger or through your younger years. I had the confidence of 1 million people when I moved to Atlanta. And I'll tell you a quick story. I was enrolled at Morehouse my first year. And in my second year, I could not get enrolled because I didn't have the money to enroll. My older brothers brought me down to Atlanta, 1,000 miles away from Buffalo, New York. And they called my mom. We didn't have cell phones back in 98, right? They weren't really out like that. So they called my mom from the payphone on a calling card, right? Tell my mom, hey, he doesn't want to come back to Atlanta. They said, oh, he can't get registered at school. My mom said, if he doesn't want to come back, leave him. I just knew that I would just make it, right? I knew it, but I had no plan. I had nobody to help hold me up. And my mom was 1,000 miles away, and she just said, leave him. Here it is 25 years later, 24 years later, and I am doing better than I was at 18, but I still want to be able to pass down that same don't be arrogant like your dad was, because I did that already. That's one thing. I definitely also want to pass down businesses like the other fellas have said. I want to pass down my faith, and not just my faith in God or my faith in Christ, but my faith that there are things that I can do, because so many times I have failed. But once you actually accomplish something, I want to be able to instill that my children can do it if they put their mind to it and they put the effort forward. Not just because they think they can, but because they put the effort forward. And I think that's very, very important. So I'm going to put a pin in it right there. And I want to welcome Mr. Longmire, Mr. Loverman, Shaba.
Jabba. What's going on, fellas? How
What's
you guys
going on, sir? So the question to you, if your audio is intact, is what kind of legacy do you want to leave, and what does that mean to you?
What kind of legacy do I want? I'll go with what it means to me. When I was just talking with somebody earlier, to me, have much left to me when it's time for my parents to go. Is the audio going? It's gonna go.
Yeah.
Give me a couple.
So, Robert, what kind of connection do you want to leave behind with your kids?
Give me a minute. I'm going through 1 minute.
So did you answer there, DB, what it means to you?
What it means to me is that, it starts with my name. 'Cause I remember in a short span of time, we had a lot of deaths in the family, and including, my dad, my brothers, my aunts, and one uncle. But what was really amazing is that Baltimore City is not that big of a city. But if you go back 50, 60 years, back maybe 1959, 1960, it was the 5th largest city in the United States. So, just from legacy perspective, I would go to, these funerals, and people would automatically look at me and say, I know who you are. You're Melvin Bailey's son. And, I would smile. I would say, yeah, I don't know who you are. It doesn't matter, son. You look just like him. So that in itself, having supplanted my dad, knowing that I looked just like him or looked the most like him, all his friends knew exactly who I was. And they knew that I was a man of integrity because they knew my dad was a man of integrity. So that's what legacy means to me, that I am a man of integrity, and that my integrity would be intact throughout my lifetime, and that people will recognize that and associate it with my name. And that's what it really means to me. If nothing else, it means the most in that perspective.
So what does it mean to you, Colin, to leave a legacy?
Hold on, what is that again, Chris?
What does it mean to you to leave a legacy?
I answered that already.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I went first.
I didn't know if you answered what you want to leave, or so it was a little earlier on. So yeah. So to me, and I'll just jump in real fast, to me, what it means, because I said what I wanted to leave. What it means to me is I'll do it differently. It means everything to be able to leave a legacy. It means that I did something that mattered, that my children will be able to say, hey, I got this from my dad. They'll be able to look back and associate their level of success or greatness or, individuality to link that something of it to me. One of my favorite movies is any war movie, particularly the war movies. One of my favorite genre of movies is the war movies, like where you'll see in Gladiator, I am Maximus, son of this, son of that, right? They're basically sharing with you the legacy that they're coming from. And I absolutely love that. And that's what that means to me. Like you're able to pass along you beyond your current station. One of the things that I said probably about 10 years ago, and I said it quietly in a very small circle, is that I love Dr. Martin Luther King and I love Malcolm X. But one of the things that I realized that neither one of them did was duplicate themselves into other people so that they would continue, not in the same way, but in a very similar vein. When it stopped, it for the most part stopped with them. And I love being able to see people duplicate themselves, put themselves or pour their life out into someone else so that someone can take up their torch and carry it on.
From a biblical perspective, it's something in the name. That's why they would actually list all the names through the lineage, 42 generations, until they got to.
Well,
but I'm not trying to be preachy, but I'm just saying each name had a meaning, just like your name will have a meaning. Whatever legacy you leave behind, if you were a criminal, they could look your name up, Charlie Manson. You can list names of people that were criminals, and you just throw their name out, and you can know exactly what they did and how they did it. So the converse to that is when you are leaving a legacy, it is definitely associated with your name.
yeah, and to co-sign with that, I mean, that it's just like, I know you say you hate to sound preachy, but it's like we got to, because that's our basis. That's where everything started from. God has his commandments. He set things in order. He had certain ways he wanted things done. So, of course, he gave us free reign. But even in the Old Testament, we see the consequences of those. So it's just like we don't think about the generation, because we saw all throughout the Bible how lineages were cursed. The sins of the father, the sins of what the parents did, it didn't just stop there when they died. It carried on to the next generation, to the next generation, to the next generation. The whole lineage was cursed. But then the opposite, those that did it God's way, is just like those that taught those principles and morals and did it God's way. Once they died, those blessings were passed down to each generation, to the next generation, to the next generation, to the next generation. So it's just like you really have to be intentional. It's not just about intentional dating. It's about being intentional with your legacy, because all the decisions, all the choices you make today affect your generations to come. So it's just like everything in the name. So yeah, DB made a great point. So yeah, a lot goes into the name, because we already know the main names in the Bible and what those trajectories were of the generations that followed after. So that's very critical. So that's why I'm saying people need to understand that decisions you're making, you're not just messing around, you're not just getting bodies and things like that, but it's like you are adversely affecting your children and your children's children and your children's children's children. So
yeah, and that's where generational curses come from. A lot of folks don't really, and it's associated with names too.
One of the things that I love, and if you're watching this show, you are always able to join the show right there, by selecting, hitting that link. We actually have a brand new option for you. So option one, if you want to join the show, is you want to click this link right here. call.aabma.live. It's always going to be in the chat on our YouTube page. Or if you want to call in and you have a question, you can join it by dialing 669-444-9171 and then entering the code right there at the bottom. Every week we get people that are emailing questions, or we just have questions that need to be answered, right? Because people have questions that they want Black men to answer, because there are a lot of times that they just don't have positive feedback. You know, a lot of people feel that they need a wide variety of answers.
Before we go to that, I just want to ask the fellas, why is that a problem to talk about? Why do y'all think that's a problem to talk about? Generational curses and the biblical substance, how like that still applies today. Nothing new under the sun, as you said, Chris. Why do you think nobody wants to talk about that, or people gloss over that? Or why do you think it's not talked about enough?
You know what? I think the number one reason, if because there's a lot of hidden secrets and the embarrassment that's associated with it. And the more you hide it, the longer it lingers and the more problematic it becomes. Like some grandkids may never meet their grandparents, but because that generational curse is in the family, they may start displaying the same attributes, and they were never around their grandparents or their great grandparents. And until you address it head on, and you know, in our culture, mostly where I come from, you know, my family comes from the South, and we're still in the South technically. If you want to, Maryland is southern of the Mason-Dixon, if you really want to get technical with it. But from the South perspective, you know, it was the long history of folks, young kids getting pregnant and so on and so forth. They sent them up north, and then if the ones up north got pregnant, they sent them down south, and you know, somebody in the family would raise them. But it's the whole stigma that comes with that it's beyond just embarrassment. It's spiritual, and a lot of people are not spiritual enough to actually address it. And that's why I land it right there.
So I'll say that generational curses brings about what we already know is generational trauma. And so, as we know, and we're all African American on here, in African American household, I'm speaking in general terms, because not everybody's household is that way, but a lot of African American households, we don't talk about those things that happen in a household. So it doesn't matter if those things happen 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago. Those things are not to be talked about. And so it is kind of interesting, especially in the new day and age where we're more open to going to therapy and talking about our issues with people. But at one point in time, and a lot of grandparents still do this, you know, you're not going to go and talk about what's going on in this house with somebody outside of the household, because what we share in this house stays in this house. It's just like you have families, and we're just keeping it real, where the uncles and that have molested the kids and stuff like that, or family members have molested the kids, and we don't talk about that stuff. Everybody knows it's going on, or everybody knows it has happened, but we don't talk about those things, because if we were to talk about those things, then it'll open up a whole lot of things, or a whole lot of, the old saying is open up that can of worms. And so instead of us talking about those things, we continue to let those things just kind of stay where they are. And as we know, it's kind of just like, let's say, for instance, for example, you put a cake in the oven and you never check on the cake. And so after a while, what's going to happen to that cake is going to burn up. And so same thing kind of goes for when it comes to dealing with those generational traumas and curses. The more that you can continue to keep those things raveled down, the more the next generation going to continue to grow up with the same mindset it takes somebody else stepping outside of their comfort zone, and sometimes even making the family get upset. And at certain times, the family may outcast you for a while, or they may look at you as not one of their own. But somebody has to be the bigger person to take a stand and say something such as, "Hey, this what's been going on here is not how my kids are going to be raised. My kids are going to be raised totally different." But the impact of closeness of the family and being with the family, it causes people to not want to rock the boat, basically. But if we don't rock the boat, then where are we going?
Ignorance
So
is bliss.
yeah, so at some point in time, somebody has to make the decision to do something different. But it just goes back to like Daryl was saying, is that a lot of things in the black household, we keep them among the black household. And until we got to that mindset of not being able to talk about things, or until we get out of that mindset that we're all human beings and mistakes do happen, we're going to continue to be persecuted in our own thoughts. And our kids are going to continue to suffer. And it's just going to be a generation that's going to continue to suffer and suffer until somebody decides to take a stand and do things differently.
You're on mute. Still can't hear you on mute.
It say that I'm muted. It say the host got me muted.
You good now?
You good now?
All right. So I think for me, one of the problems is the language in itself. When we say curse, that to me that's lazy language. When you use the expression like generational curse, that's part of the reason why these things continue to happen, because you start to succumb to the idea that you're actually cursed. Because when you're cursed, there's nothing you can do about it, right? Generational negligence is a real thing. Because, for example, like the example Jerron used, for example, like, and we know molestation and sexual abuse and things of that nature, that's more common than we think within the black community, within the black family. But if we use the idea of it actually being a curse, it's going to continue to happen. No, it's not generational curse, it's generational negligence. Someone was informed of this type of behavior that was going on, and they turned they turned their eye to it. And then it continued and continued and continued. And then when it got to a point where someone actually confronted it, then all the truth is going to come out. That person, that little girl or little boy that's now a man or a woman that figured it out, they realized, like, damn, my dad, my mom, my uncle, aunt, they let this happen to me. And this is why people avoid it so much, because your ugly truth has to come out when we address it. So yeah, they're gonna tell girl, be quiet. We don't talk about that. Boy, be quiet. That didn't happen, or this, and that. And that's why these things continue to happen. But if we believe that it's a curse, then you're going to submit to that idea that this family is just cursed, and we're not going to address it. So I wouldn't go as far, because to me, my understanding of a curse is a supernatural, for punishment that is on you. Your uncle, the uncle predator, uncle molesting on the little girls or boys in the family, that's not a curse. That's negligence within that family structure that was not taken care of properly. And that's why it continues to happen. So for me, I don't use that language as far as generational curses, because it's spooky language to me. It's fearful language to me. Kind of like slave mentality language. It's negligence, if anything.
It's not language I use. It's in the Bible. That's what the Bible describes. But in that scenario that you gave, I think if you find out there was molestation and things like that, yeah, relatives should be called out, because that's accountability. So it's just like, that's the consequence of their action. They just thought it could just sweep on the rug and it would just go away. It's just like, no, it'll resurface, and it should be addressed, because yeah, it once you address it, it can be corrected. And then it's just like, from then on from then on, it's just like, I'm gonna make sure that my kids aren't exposed to this, or that my kids don't have to deal with this. But it's just like those that committed the original act, they should definitely be called on it if it's discovered, because that's a part of accountability. It's just like, no, you don't get away with that. You don't get to just brush that off like nothing happened, like you didn't adversely affect my life, like you didn't negatively impact my life. So like I said, in that scenario, they should definitely be called out, because that's a step towards healing, and then just rectifying that doesn't happen to future generations.
Right, Colin. But when you say it's biblical, how do you correlate the two? Like, what's an example of a biblical curse happening to a family?
So, like, family, we can use David for instance.
I'm talking about today, like currently.
And so, okay, so what is an example of a curse today?
Like, yeah, give me an example of a family being cursed.
I mean, I can throw out some examples out there, but I don't necessarily know if I want to do that here live on the show, because if it's a family that's going through that or whatever, it's just like, yeah, it might give that negative connotation that, oh, is he saying I'm doing this or I'm doing that? But I think we can discuss that offline.
Sickness is one of them.
What do you say?
Sickness is one. We don't have to name families, but sickness is a curse.
Yeah. So it could be, it could be, or diabetes.
That's a curse?
That's not a curse. Well, that's not a curse, but what do you mean by that, DB?
Because there are several sicknesses that people can't even you go to the doctors and they can't even identify it, but it's there because spiritually it's been passed down. They don't have a name for it, and I'm saying that in a sense it happens all the time. And sickness was the main curse that was probably discussed throughout the generations in the Bible. And there are several different occurrences that people are dealing with right now through their families. And I want to say that I kind of agree with you with the mysticism of the word curse, but in the same sense, if you look at it from a practical application, disobedience brought certain particular curses on, if you're looking at it from a literal biblical sense. But sickness is definitely one of them, and it's unknown sicknesses. Now we have gotten so far in advance with our medical terminology and able to kind of diagnose certain things, but there are a lot of sicknesses that doctors can't put their fingers on, and it just trickles down through people's lineage.
I mean, I can agree with that, but like, so would you say that devout sister that goes to church faithfully every single Sunday and gives her tithes and this and this and that, would you call her cursed because she has a particular disease?
No, not from that particular sense. But what I'm saying is you could still and that's the part that really, because we're talking about legacy, right? So somewhere along in her lineage, somebody did something that may have been passed on through the bloodlines that she was unaware of, but yet and still she's still faithful. She's still doing all of the things that, quote unquote, the pomp and circumstance of biblical followers do, but she still suffered from a sickness that she can't even put her finger on, and the doctors can't.
God, and I agree with that, but see, that's exactly why I stay away from that type of language, because I'm not in no position to identify who's cursed and who's not. Like I'm not, you know what I mean? That's why I stay away from it.
Right, and that was extreme when I said diabetes, because I often talk about that, where it's just like, even on the applications when you go to hospitals and things like that, to ask if anybody in your family was a diabetic or things like that. And so it's like, it's not in your DNA. That's a recipe that was passed down through the family and things like that. So it's just like that can easily be cured as far as like, no, just don't stop. We're not on the.
A lot of people in the church with diabetes, our community.
So it's like we're not on the plantation anymore. We got to eat like that anymore. So yeah, that was a little extreme as far as that point. So, but that's why I say we could take it offline because this could really go down, just a whole nother direction.
I mean, I don't think you fall off with that if you're really a historian or a history buff. Our indigenous origin is not from this country. So where we came from, you don't hear too much about diabetes and stuff like that.
Right, and we don't come from slavery either. So.
Yeah, so but definitely going to stick a fork in that.
Yeah.
Let that marinate a little bit, Chris.
We get to questions.
But Shaheed, he be bringing that heat when he asks them questions.
Yeah, so we're not in no ways deflecting, Shaheed. We'll definitely talk about this, but yeah.
I'm deflecting. No, so every week we get questions that we have for you all that are typically brought to us. And the first question is, because we're all men, what makes you happy? And the person, said genuinely happy, not weed, liquor, or your kids. So what makes you happy?
Can you hear me?
I can.
You can? Real quick, before we move on to the question, what is it that we're running away from on the discussion?
Generational curses.
Generational curses.
We ain't running away from.
No.
Like it sounds like Colin. It sounds like you running from something. What you running from? What you don't want to talk about here publicly? That we can't. That you trying to. Who you protecting?
No, not protecting anybody. It's just about casting a wide swath that a lot of people might fall under, and it's just like, oh, so they're saying we're cursed or they're this, and so because he said in the new age and modern times today, what does that look like? So, I mean,
if they curse, they curse.
I mean, if a hit dog holler, that's what happens. But we don't have to censor ourselves. And I hear what you're saying. You want to be careful with the brand and all that, but you don't have to censor yourself. If people don't like what we talk about, they don't have to watch our show. Right. But I want us to always be able to speak freely and exactly how we think, and not talk about it behind closed doors. The reason why people are going to tap into us and listen to you and love the dialogue that you have, particularly Colin, is because you're being open and honest. Now, if you happen to say something that's going to hurt somebody's feelings, then we don't have safe spaces.
Colin might not be trying to get us canceled.
If they cancel us, we'll just restart another show. So never. I
like my T-shirt though. I like my T-shirt. So
that's what's up. But okay, Chris. I just want to put that out there for the future. That we can always speak our minds. Always speak our minds on the show. It's nothing that we can't say. All right.
Yeah. The first question is from Jay Harper. What genuinely makes you happy? And anybody can jump in.
I'll go first. I think it's my purpose. I think when you find your purpose in life, and you can find your purpose at one time and start doing something else. But when you really feel like you found your purpose, I feel like that makes you fulfilled. And currently, right now in my life, that's where I am. I think about, like I said, my grandfather, and one of my grandfather's biggest things for me, he wanted to see me graduate college. And, we used to talk about it and everything. And at first, my grandfather, he wanted me to be an anesthesiologist. And I didn't want to be an anesthesiologist. I thought I did, but then I realized early on in my college career that was kind of what he wanted me to do. What I thought he wanted me to do. But I remember I had a conversation with him, and he was kind of like, well, no, son, I want you to do what you want to do. He said, I never wanted you to be an anesthesiologist if that's not what you wanted to do. And so, I was kind of going to college trying to fulfill a certain type of image at first, thinking that's what he wanted me to do. But after I had that conversation with him, and he explained to me that he wanted me to do what I wanted to do, and I knew it had to be something per se in like the helping field, and so it was like a weight was lifted off my shoulder, and so that's when I changed my major. But being able to do what I'm doing right now, and I think about that because, like I said, he never got to see me walk across that stage. He passed away actually. It was what, July the 1st, 2013. So like 5 months before I graduated from college. So he never actually got to see me walk across the stage. But knowing that I'm out here living out my purpose the way that he wanted me to do it and the way I wanted to do it is allowing me to know that I made him proud and happy. And so being able to do what I do now, which is, of course, provide therapy to currently right now the veteran population, but I've done it with kids in the foster care system as well, and it's a certain type of excitement that you get once you see a person, they come in a certain type of way and they come to you with a problem, but as you go through the different weeks and you all grow with each other, they learn from you. That same person that may started out very, very vulnerable in a particular space where they felt like they couldn't go on any longer. And the way you see them maybe a year from now or 6 months from then, and to see how they walk out of that office and how they're able to do things differently, and they're in a better headspace and they thank you for all your assistance, it lets me know that my life is fulfilled. It lets me know that I'm doing my life's work. And I feel like that's what I was put here to do. One of the things I was put here to do is continue to try to, pour into other people, whether that's through my actions, through my words. And I feel like I'm doing that. So besides the kids, the money, all that stuff, that stuff it is what it is. But being able to fulfill my life purpose and something that I think that God had, put aside for me to do, that brings me fulfillment in my life. There.
For me, we had this question in advance, and Chris basically tried to tell us what we could say or not, but I like the fact that he kind of did cater, tell us not to give a cliche answer, because like for me, and it made me think a little deeper. And that's when I realized, like, my happiness is fluid. It varies. Like one day something can make me extremely happy, and then the next day it could be a burden. Like, for example, when I was working I was working harder before I moved to a different position, and it was I would say easier work. It would be a relief for me to go to the ranch, and that would be like my happy place and whatnot. You know what I mean? Because I could just let my hair down. It was a stress reliever and whatnot. But then when COVID hit and I wasn't working and I was in the house and, got to be lazy and relax, now the ranch became work. And I'm like, God damn, I got to go out here and deal with these horses. I got to, like, you know what I mean? It's like, damn, like, so in the same, with work, like when I was, it was rewarding for me to help somebody out and have people look up to you and admire you and things of that nature. But when one of my, forms of happiness got taken away from me, it was just like now work became less rewarding. And it's just like, and that was one of the reasons I had to leave my previous job, because I felt myself cheating those who depended on me. I felt myself like not giving them my all. And I read a quote, not necessarily a quote, but it was people would always talk about the Patriots coach Bill Belichick, on how he would always get rid of a player at least 1 to 2 years before he actually should get rid of him, because he didn't want to be in that situation, stuck with the player now and don't know what to do with him. So that's why I left my job and found a new happiness, because I literally was at my breaking point where it was just like, yo, I'm about to I'm about to lose it. I'm about to snap. So I gotta wait for it. So for me, man, I'm accepting the reality. Even with family, sometimes your family who you love dearly, they can be a bird, like they can drain you. It's not that you love them any less, but they can remove you from your happiness. So for me, it really, my happiness just depends on the day. You know what I mean? Like sometimes I'm most happy when I'm desolate, I'm still, I'm not doing anything, I'm in my house, in my room, whatever, just locked away. So it just depends. I'm done. I'm finished.
Well, for me, my happiest points, there's two of them. The first one, maybe a little cliche, is when there's nothing, where I don't have any responsibilities, any obligations, any, is Shan saying something?
Rob, your audio is good. Just keep talking.
Okay. I don't have any obligations or anything that like is a stress for me. So I'm able to just sit in a quiet environment and relax. The other thing that makes me most happy is whenever I'm able to, or whenever I've been able to help someone provide for whatever they need in their life, provide for their family, through whatever it is that I'm doing, to be able to see that somebody else is able to take care of themselves and be able to be a blessing to other people, through whatever it is that I help them do. That's something that actually gives me joy. It makes me feel like I've accomplished something and that I'm contributing to someone else's happiness. That's it.
Doing what I love is what genuinely makes me happy, and I always say that my success is defined by my happiness. So uh, can't wait to wake up another day to do something else or work on another project, but doing what I love because it encompasses all of those things. I get to uh, travel different places. I get to work with somebody new. Every client that I take on, every client that I work with, I literally become part of their story. And after the project is done, it's a new friend, someone new that I call family. So it's just like I'm invited to the barbecues and things like that. So um, it literally allows me to do every single thing uh, that God has called me on this earth to do. So um, that's what truly makes me happy. And I always mention all this. Also, it's just like I didn't get awards and things like that, rewards when I was working a 9 to 5 and things like that. But all the accolades and awards came when I started my business. Like when I just started doing my God-given purpose. It's like when all the awards that line my shelf and everything that I achieved. So I always say I didn't receive awards when I was in a workspace, but received awards, acknowledgments, and rewards when I was in my own space. So that's how I define my happiness.
My, I don't know if anybody is friends with me on any of the social media platforms. I have what I call capital SOT, capital D, which is the smile of the day.
Oh, I thought it was selfie of the day.
No, sir. No, sir. So at the end of the day, I have suffered a lot of physical trauma, and through it all, God kept picking me up and telling me to keep smiling because I'm still alive. I've mentored young men. I've coached many people, and I've come to one conclusion. If it's one person, if it's just one person that I could impact and leave that smile, that legacy, that smile of the day. So if you ever get a chance to see me on my social media platforms, I was posting it every day. Even going through a lot of pain, I still found a way to smile. And that makes me happy. If I could put a smile on one person's face each day of my life, I'm complete.
So I'm gonna give mine in backwards order because I wrote them down. Reciprocity. And I don't mean just like I do something, you do the exact same thing, but more so if I'm giving, you're giving. Um, I very, very, that like literally makes me go to a whole nother level of happiness because, who wants to be around somebody and you are the only person pouring, you're the only person giving. That just literally fills my cup. Uh, and if you want to bring up acts of service, I want all five. If you date me, I want all five. So don't just say one. And when it comes to love languages, I want all five. So it's not just one. So reciprocity is number one. What also makes me happy, and I don't know how many of y'all know this about me, but being petty. I get happy when I get the opportunity to be petty because I usually am
Boom.
always.
There it is. There it
Toxic.
is. There it is. And he's actually proud of that, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Yes.
Ladies and
Yes.
gentlemen, I give you Petty Wop.
Yeah, listen. Petty Gargamel, you hear me? Because it will be trash coming for you. No, but the reason why I say that is because normally, like let's say I go on social media and I make a post and people are just dragging me on the post. I don't respond to a person, or even if it's in person, I don't respond in a manner that's just like, oh, I'm, getting hot and, angry and this and that. I typically just don't respond to those things. I may tell my inner circle, man, did y'all see that? Stuff like that. But I'm not going to go back and forth with you because I understand that like we all are now public figures, right? Doing this show, we have become a public figure. And so we are susceptible to having trolls in the comments, to having people talk about us or try to poke holes in our conversation for whatever reason. So one of the things that I've learned from some of my larger influencer friends is to just ignore it, but also be yourself. And if you feel like you want to be petty every once in a while, it does my heart joy. So I do it because I want you to know you got the right one. You definitely got the right one. So that's the second one. But true joy right there, I tell you, this true happiness and joy, and it's not often, but it definitely happens. And then the last one, which is actually the most important one, the most serious one, is being useful professionally, personally, and romantically. And that's literally self-explanatory. I want to be useful, helpful, professionally, personally, and romantically. I want to be honored. Being honored makes me happy. Being understood and feeling heard makes me happy. Executing my vision and seeing my ideas successfully come to pass, that makes me happy. I am a creative. I was born to create. That sounds like the fire alarm. I mean, not the fire alarm. Whatever that the smoke detector. If
We
that's
trying
your
to
phone.
we trying to figure out who it is.
DB, put your phone on vibrate. DB, it's you.
He on mute, y'all. He don't know. Anyway, all right. So we go back. All right. Executing my vision, and seeing my ideas successfully come to life. But at the same time, while I'm executing my vision, while they are successful and they're coming to life, it also makes me extremely happy to help people in the process. So while I'm on my path of success, I get extreme joy, extreme happiness from being able to help other people. I believe it was Martin Luther King that said, "If no one is following you, you're not a leader. You're just taking a walk." And if I'm helping people in the process, I feel that they are somewhere around in my process of me moving in my journey, that they're following me. And so I take pride in being a positive role model, but also petty. So, every once in a while. And then the last part is knowing that I'm giving my all. That's correct. Knowing that I'm giving my all and being and when I am in a dating situation, when the lady that I'm dating or I'm in a relationship with, she gives me help without me having to ask. So many times I do so many things automatically that I look for that saying that's the one thing that I want reciprocated, where I just don't have to ask, because you have the skills, you have the ability to remove this particular thing off my plate so I don't have to do it. Like if it's something as simple as making a phone call, or making my plate, or I make your plate, or you cook tonight or I cook tomorrow, or whatever it is. That makes me happy because it means that you're paying attention to me, and that I love it because it allows me to know that you saw that I needed help and that I needed you. So that is me.
Did y'all hear the story about the 3 guys at the church went on a fishing trip? Y'all hear about that one?
Tell us.
No? I'll be brief. There were 3 gentlemen that attended a church, and they went to get to know each other. So, they were deacons, pastor, elders. So there's like, hey, brothers, we've been at this church for 3-4 years, and, we really haven't gotten to know each other. Let's go on a little retreat. We'll go out fishing. So they go out on this boat. They go, they go out to these woods and things like that in a cabin, and they go on this boat and go out in the middle of the lake and go fishing. So it's like, hey, gentlemen, thank y'all for agreeing to do this. So, let's just get to know each other. Let's just go one by one. It's just like, so what is something you struggle with? And, he's like, who wants to go first? And one brother went first, and he's just like, well, he's like, it's a safe space and all that kind of stuff. It's just us. So one brother was just like, well, I struggle with pornography. He's like, my wife doesn't know it, but when she's not around the house, I struggle with pornography. So that's something I'm trying to work on, but that's something I currently struggle with. Then the other brother, they was just like tapping each other on the shoulders, like, it's all right, brother, it's all right. And then the other one went, and he was just like, well, I struggle with, I occasionally like look at other women and things like that. He's like, I'm married too, of course. So he's like, but occasionally when I'm out and things like that, I still struggle with, women and things like that. So, they pat him on the shoulder and it's just like, it's all right, brother. It's all right. Thank you for sharing. And then they look at the third brother and he goes and he's just like, and it was just like both looking at him. It's just like, what is something you struggle with? And he just kind of like looked at them both and he was just like, I gossip. So I mean, y'all can tell the end of the story, but 2 of those brothers came back. 3 went out, but 2 came back.
Facts.
Chris was the third brother.
First of all, no, Chris is never the third brother. I don't gossip.
Chris got thrown in the lake. He didn't return home.
That's hilarious. That is hilarious. Shahi, what you mean by I said I kind of when you said I told you how to answer?
You asked us what makes us happy, and then followed up and said, "Don't say this, don't say that, don't say."
No, like, that's straight from the person. That's not from me.
Oh, okay. I didn't. That was. Oh, I thought you were asking it.
Sound like
no. So if you see it like that person put that question out there. And I just, I take it from the email, I copy and I paste it so that our super producer can just.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I thought you was just asking us, like, I'm like, what? Why you can't say that?
No, but you.
No, but it was
see, that lets me know you don't be paying attention. I say question number 1. No, but it's cool. It's cool. So usually we do 2 questions, so. But it's cool. No, I don't try to censor anybody.
Can we give Chris? Can we give a round of applause to Robert
for having good audio? Yes.
Robert went shopping, y'all. Everybody, Robert went shopping.
Now you got an echo.
But
Shan.
now, yeah, Shan, but you got a bad echo.
Absolutely nothing.
Oh, you gave him credit too fast.
I ain't even got the.
Oh damn!
Wait. Damn, his audio is not even working.
No, not. But Shan, you're echoing.
You got
I got to echo. Oh,
You got a real bad echo, Shan.
Hold on.
Rob.
Yeah.
Are you on mute, Robert?
I'm not on mute.
All right, cool.
All right. You on mute by the host.
The echo is gone, right?
Yeah, echo's gone.
Okay. All right. Robert, what camera are you using?
You did it too fast. You gave him too much props too fast.
We did not hear anything, Robert.
Okay.
Robert, what camera are you using? We can't hear you, Robert.
Hey, Robert has a ring light. He has stepped up.
I think you got a ring light in the background. Robert, we can't hear you. You're talking, but we cannot hear you.
Can you hear us?
No audio. Yeah, he can hear us because he was responding, but we cannot hear him.
Robert, can you center yourself also? Could you center yourself in there?
What I'm thinking is, I think, Robert, do me a favor, clap your hands 3 times.
Clap your hands, everybody. Just everybody clap your hands.
No, so I didn't hear the clap. Oh, no, I didn't
hear
the
the last one.
All right, what are you running? Do you have a noise suppressor? Because maybe I'm thinking his noise suppressor is turned up too high.
So I'm just on the iPad right now. I changed. It's really
That's bad.
iPad.
Oh, your audio is bad. So
Robert, we're gonna chip in and get you a computer.
So you telling me? So Robert, you're telling me that the camera that you're using right now is the camera? Oh, he's gone.
No, he's
here. He's back. So Rob, so the camera that you're using, your video is coming from the camera that's built into an iPad. All right, is it the front that's on the glass or the back or the back? So you can see yourself, right? All right, cool. Now the audio setting is also the audio from the built-in mic on that same iPad. Because
yes.
All right.
Can we just get him a computer? I got a guy.
Mike, troubleshooting live on the air.
Right.
Robert,
Chris, you do not have a guy. He was about to get a 2010 MacBook Pro.
No.
Guys, hold on. Robert, do me a favor. Hit the settings, go to audio, and then turn off noise suppression if it's turned on. Go to settings, the cogwheel, then go to audio, and then if it has noise suppression toggled on, toggle it off. It's off.
We're definitely doing the sound checks next week.
We got to have a tech rehearsal for 2 of our cast members, Wes and Robert.
Everybody, we're gonna have a lighting. We're gonna have tech. We're gonna have a video. We're gonna have audio, and then we're gonna have lighting. We're gonna get Jerron in his lighting right.
You have to get Robert mic. I mean, I've never seen Robert this clear in video.
Never.
I've never seen this clear. So
the same one. It's the same thing.
No, it ain't.
Oh, we hear him, and it's clear.
No, I'm saying we can hear him, but it's only when he projects. So that's what I'm thinking. He's used. There's some sort of noise suppression, or his mic is clogged on his iPad from maybe some kids is playing and got some oatmeal up in that motherfucker. But the microphone is not. We can't hear him
like his microphone.
That's hilarious.
Shan, we got Robert number 2 in the building. Robert number 2.
He's on his computer.
Yeah, it's on the Mac.
And now we hear you.
All right, so let's boot the bad audio Robert version of you. Get on out of here. Get.
Yeah, now he looks like the Robert we're normally used to. Dark, blotchy. It's fucking the video is spotty. The other one was nice and smooth. It was bright. The iPad video was great, but your mic is no good.
It's like his audio is gonna be perfect now, but yeah, the picture is just horrible.
What model iPad
No.
do you have? Do you have a one with a Lightning connector or one with a USB-C?
We can't hear you, Robert.
Take
And
this
you're broadcasting in 240p.
Wait, where's his audio?
No.
Oh, you
All
gotta
right,
be
so
kidding me.
Shan, we're just gonna skip him for right now. What makes you happy, other than telling people what to do? What makes you happy, Shan? Genuinely
What makes me
happy.
happy? Oh, man, food, blowjobs, um, and loyalty. I'm simple, man. I'm a simple dude. I'm super simple. I'm super simple. I don't require much. I'm low maintenance.
Shan, are you okay today?
What?
Sounds fine to me.
Shan
What
said,
happened?
"I'm so listen. Shan is normally locked in, y'all. He's normally locked in every
Sitting
show.
up, focused, and everything.
Right. I mean,
Oh,
he
I'm back here doing technical stuff. I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to get this phone line system where I was doing.
I,
The only person that could see me was Colin. Colin saw me over here doing tests and running mic checks and the whole nine. So
I
I'm not
think what it
really.
was for me is I had my iPad plugged into my iPhone and plugged into the Mac to charge. So
Shan,
the
did you
Mac,
see the
for whatever
comment?
reason, the connection was stupid. But
we can hear you, Robert. That what did you do?
I unplugged my iPad from the Mac. I think it was just trying to pick a source for the audio, and it would pick the Mac for the audio, and it's just going back and forth. But I unplugged it, and it seemed to be working.
Your lighting is great.
Yeah, but I don't think that. I mean, if you was just charging it, you were
Doesn't make
charging.
sense.
Nah, sometimes when you it depends on what type of accessory it is, because it'll like I've had that happen before.
I think it's more on a level of if you got two Mac devices, they might be fighting to see who can host on it because
Yeah.
it really it's determined by your daggone email address, which you
Put it
log
on
in.
the screen, Colin.
No.
I guess. No, but whatever Robert
Yes,
got
we
going
do.
on.
No,
Unfortunately, we
sir.
do.
The
No,
iPad is
sir.
good though. Visually, the iPad is good, Rob. And if you get that mic that I sent you, the $200 one,
Yeah.
you'll be perfect, bro. You won't have no more issues. But you visually, I've never seen you look this good. So this is great. Your laptop though, we've
Don't do
had
that.
we've seen.
Don't do that
Yeah,
one.
don't do that.
Yes,
I mean,
ladies and
the setting
gentlemen.
was still on 482. I didn't even change the setting in that. So
Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Season 2, a whole year later, we're still struggling with these two castmates.
No,
Or
no,
3.
not we. We is only two people.
Duran's composition is getting a little bit better.
and Petty Wop come in with the mic too hot. So
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Pastor Pettywop.
Sir, I can change my audio. I've been on here for a year, and the only thing that y'all told me I was too loud. So, sir,
Yeah.
I have great audio quality.
Chris be coming in super hot. It's like, Chris, you don't gotta yell. You're already over everybody. It's just like, God.
that
I
old
got this
Mr.
mic right here too, the little bitty mic. I bought this a long while ago. Why you want to let the Lisa's comments sing on the mic? Lisa, come on up and tell us what you were saying in the comments. Robert, did you get a chance to say what makes you happy?
Yeah, I did. It was basically the having the ability to contribute to somebody else's life so that they can have a sustainable life, sustain their family, sustain their happiness. Being able to contribute to that is one of the things that makes me happy. There's more, but that's one of them.
Well, I mean, your audio's clearer now, so you're welcome to share more because we don't ever hear you on a weekly basis. For the last
I
2
mean,
weeks.
I was saying the first time I was saying that, but being able to have a moment where there's no responsibility, where there's nothing that R and R, and when I put that along with being able to travel, going out of the country, whatever, floating in the ocean, and just having nothing to think about, that's one of my happiest places I can ever be. Just being one and in line with God, and just having that moment where it's just clear and emptiness, like a meditative state. Those are the two things that make me happy outside of being able to contribute to somebody else, being able to take care of their household, being able to take care of their kids, being able to contribute to their lives in a way that's meaningful for them. It was my first time experiencing that was when I helped one of the people who was working for me. I helped him do his taxes, and I saw how much money I ended up paying for the year. Just to see I was able to help him support his two kids, and what I was doing meant to him was something that gave me a joy, and it wasn't like a prideful joy, like, oh, I did that, I helped somebody get on their feet. It was knowing that something I created had that ability, and it just gave me joy and happiness.
Sweet. So thank you. I appreciate that. And question number two is something I think is going to be really good because we talk about dating and relationships so much. So thank you, Sandra from Detroit, for this question. Everyone says there is pee in the dating pool. And I'm guessing, I don't say it, but that's what, she hears. She said, what type of chlorine do we need to fix it, meaning fix the dating pool, and make it work for all interested parties? So basically, how do you fix the dating pool? What suggestions do you have, or could we offer to Sandra from Detroit or whoever else is watching to fix the dating pool?
Throw a grenade in it, blow it up, watch all the dead fish come to the surface, and start all over. Clear that thing out and start all over. Now, go ahead, somebody
Mass
else.
murder is Colin's solution. Do we have any other solutions? Nah, to me, I think it's know yourself and know what you need to have a successful relationship. And then when you find it, recognize it. I think a lot of times we listen to everybody else. We get all these other ideals of what it is that a relationship is supposed to be to us, what our roles are supposed to be to one another, how we're supposed to be in a relationship. When really, if we just know ourselves, fix our own issues, and then know what it is that we need to host a successful relationship, and we can do our end and find that in another person, I think we'll be all right. I think we get caught up with what looks right. I think we kind of talked about on Tuesday, where social media or just other influences will influence what our perception is of a relationship. And I think sometimes it goes too far. Just not everybody's going to listen to what I say and say, you know what, that's going to work in my relationship. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, not everybody's going to listen to what Shan says and says, you know what, that's going to work for my relationship. Some people have a balance either way. Some people's all the way one side, some people's all the way the other side. And then, we just need to know ourselves first and know what it is that we need to that's going to best benefit us, that's going to best complement us to hold a sustainable relationship, sustainable and successful relationship, not just be in one just because.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say be realistic for one. I feel like it's a lot of people out here with unrealistic expectations. So you want this in a partner, but you don't bring this to the table. So you have to be honest with yourself too, and look yourself in the mirror as well. One thing that I see in that sentence right there at the end, it says all interested parties, and so I kind of agree with in the terms of what you said, Robert. I feel like a lot of times people are so focused on being in a relationship or being with someone just so they won't be single. There are so many people out here in the world that need to be in a relationship because they fear being alone or they don't like to be alone. And there's nothing wrong with being alone. There's nothing wrong with understanding yourself and getting to know yourself before you bring somebody else into the actual equation. And so kind of goes back to what you said, before you get with anybody, we all have some work we need to do, inner work we need to do. And I'm of the mindset too, like if you've been in situations where it may not have worked out and you've been in multiple situations and it's still not working out, then you may need to look yourself in the mirror. A lot of times I was talking to my grandma last week about something. We were talking about how people can see all the problems in somebody else, but when it's time to see the problems in their own self, they have a hard time doing that. And so sometimes we have to look ourselves in the mirror and figure out what we need to work on, because there may be chlorine in the water, but I mean, a lot of times we contribute to the chlorine being in the water as well, because we all play a part. So we need to realize what our part is in the equation, work on trying to control what we can control. And when it's that time to find somebody, then when we've done the inner work on ourselves, whether that's healing what we've been gone through, closing open wounds or dealing with our mental related issues and things like that, then we'll be ready to give ourselves to someone. But until then, it's really not going to work out. So I'll land right there and pass it on to somebody else.
And after you've done that, you're ready. You're ready to get back in that pool. Be intentional, because a dirty pool is full of toxicity. It's a lot of toxic waste in there. So it's like, once you've done that work, be pure. Be pure. Be intentional. It's like, genuinely get to know the person that you are interested in. No game plan. No, what can I get from this person? No, are they trying to get over on me? Be intentional. Even what we was talking about with leaving a legacy, just be intentional. Just understand that everything you are doing in that relationship, when it progresses, affects your future children. So, that's why I would say be intentional.
Well, if you've ever grown up with a pool in your backyard, I can name 4 or 5 of the houses that I grew up in that had a pool in the backyard. First thing you need to do is drop 2 parts shock up in that water. And that shock is this: come with your standards and your principles, but leave your expectations at the door. Do your due diligence on yourself. Do your real work with yourself. Make sure you're healed. Make sure you're whole enough. You ain't got to be perfect. Just make sure you're whole enough so you can recognize what you don't want, and don't settle. It's a long haul out there, and I've been in the pool for a minute. I seen some things, and I probably was some things to some other people, if I'm honest. But at the end of the day, leave your expectations at the door. Don't expect people to be exactly like you, because a lot of folks lacking common sense. The dating pool is tainted. It ain't just pee, it's tainted. It's painted and tainted. So, leave your expectations at the door. Do your real work. That's the shock therapy. Get your pool clean, and hopefully you can invite somebody over that won't muck it up. And I toss the mic back.
Man, I want DB to get that old man voice. So when he say stuff like it's painted and tainted, y'all. Like he got all these sayings. And I just want to hear him with the old voice. I'm gonna let y'all finish.
Oh, y'all putting it on me?
What up, Sharon?
Wait, young man.
So to what type of chlorine do we need to fix? Hold on 1 second. What type of chlorine do we need to fix for this? Listen, you guys, I don't think none of those options are gonna work. None of what you 4 brothers just said. To be honest with you, not today. Not with the mindset of the people today. See, what everything that you guys mentioned is all about people introspection, looking on themselves. Everybody thinks they are doing the work, Robert. Everybody thinks that when you talk to people, when you in our dating and mating spaces, when you talk to single people, when you talk to people that's divorced, when you talk to people about, it's everybody else's problem. They all think that they're already healed and ready to work. Everybody think they've done the work or they're doing the work. It sounds good. It makes a great Instagram story. It's a good meme, right? But the reality is they're not. When you talk to them, when you look at the argument, when you see how people go off the hinge right off the top, they're triggered about all kind of stuff. They think they are. Jerron, they think they are realistic. They're not. People think that their expectations are realistic. I'm not. You ask women what they want in a man, they think that's not hard. That's not much to ask for. They have, when you drill down, women have, when it comes to finances, most women are oblivious to what the world costs. Housing, real estate, food, because they've been taken care of for so long. A lot of times it's a shock to a lot of women to realize how expensive it is to live, much less have a whole family and do the traveling that they want to do, want to go to exotic places 5 times a year. Intentionality is what Colin said. But people think they are being intentional, Colin. They
do.
think that they are. They think that they're. That's the shit. That's a buzz. That's one of our famous new buzzwords over the last 3 years. Be intentional. Everybody thinks they're intentional. Everybody thinks that they're doing the work. Everybody thinks that they're realistic in what what they want from somebody, and they're being intentional as to what they want out of it. I want marriage. I'm letting them know right up front, but they still, going to Pound Town and just casually having sex. My man, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No,
Shane.
I'm just hitting you guys. Daryl was talking about throw the shot in the pool because I have a pool at my other house, so I know got to get that shot, right? but he says do self due diligence. That's what Daryl said. Do self due diligence. That's back to people checking themselves. People are not checking themselves, and when you ask them, they think they are, but they're actually not, including me. I know I'm delusional when it comes to what at least the ones that can recognize the truth probably have some sort of, like I heard Chris earlier today. He spoke on something. He took some accountability on how he feels when he's talking about his happy. That's amazing because a lot of people won't say what Chris said. A lot of people think that they're fucking perfect and that they have already done all the work and they're being intentional and they're doing all the. It's not them anymore. I'm ready now. It's everybody else's problem. I've done my self due diligence and I'm ready to go. And that's not they threw the shock in the pool along with the chlorine. That's what if we're looking for people to self-check themselves, then we're fucked. And I don't think that's what's going to happen. So if I had to answer this question, I'm not putting the responsibility on people to check themselves. Oh, hell no, not today. I'm sorry. I just can't. Not based on what I'm seeing. What I'd like, if I had to pick something, is, again, I put the onus on women to fix the dating and mating because I think a lot of the problems that we're having in dating mating lands in the lap of women. Men have their issues too, but I think there's a lot of in delusion land, in bizarro land, is coming from women. I think one of the things that needs to happen is women need to have men to be able to vet the men that the women want. Women currently, as I've said before, I don't have any daughters, but if I had a daughter, I would hand my daughter would go from my covering to her husband's covering. It would go from Daddy Shan to her husband, whom I would know and have vetted as her father. And I don't give a damn how old she is. I wouldn't care if she was 30, 40, or 50 years old. She goes from my covering to him. Now, what's happening today in dating and matings particularly, women are out there left to their own devices and picking the niggas that they like. They're watching Instagram. They're looking at back in the day, they're watching YouTube. MTV and BET. They're picking the guys that they like and they're selecting who they date and mate. They're selecting who they lay down with and who's shooting up the club and they're opening up their womb to. And they're not listening to their older brothers or uncles or their fathers. And so they think that they're making the right decisions, but it's too late after she gets pregnant by Pookie. And now they're trying to convince other men to do the cleanup game, be the cleanup man when she gets 30 because of the bad decisions she made when she was in her 20s. I think the answer to, or at least one of the answers, because there's a couple of them, but one of the biggest ones is for women to stop making their own decisions as to the guys that they fall for because they're making bad decisions. It's the 80-20 rule that we all talk about. 80% of the women want 20% of the men, and the 20% of the men that they want typically ain't shit. Over 50% of men are childless and in the middle class. The other 30% is married. So these women are having babies, multiple children, is body count is just climbing because they're picking these dudes that look sexy. He's cute. He got the gift of gab, straight teeth, big dick. He's in the gym all day because he doesn't have a job. He's renting cars when he's traveling. He's at All-Star Weekend. He's doing all those kind of things. And the nigga got 3 baby mamas. Some got 5. Some got 9. One dude making a bad decision with 9 women making bad decisions if he has 9 baby mamas. But I think, and this is something that I don't think is going to happen right away because you can't tell women shit today. But if women were to allow somebody to come in and help them vet the men that they lay with, the men that they have sex with, the men that they fall for. Because I know a nigga when I see one. Y'all do too. The women don't, but we know that nigga when we like, nah, you don't want to do that. But why? Just I can't really put my finger on it, baby. You just don't want to fuck with him. Trust me. I'm in the locker room with him. I went to high school with him. I'm in the gym with him. He works at my job. I know how he talks. I know how he moves. I know that archetype. That nigga's on my block. You don't see that because he's telling you everything that you want to hear. He's making you moist. I'm telling you, you're going to have a problem with him. And if women were to allow somebody that they trust, like a typically an older man, a father figure of sorts, if she doesn't have one, to allow her to help her make the best decisions, because that's what used to happen before we ran into this freedom. When women got free, when they got all the freedom in the world and they could make all the choices. And so, like I was explaining earlier, when I said my daughter would go, if I had one, would go from my covering to her husband's. What's happening now is daughters are going from home to the streets, go get a job. And they're moving off to college and they're not leaving this town that they went to college from. Kanye said it. Her name is Alexis. Well, I forget how the verse goes, but
She
I'm gonna
doesn't
stay down.
have a car, so she named her daughter Alexis.
Yeah. So I'm gonna just stay down here and get a job. She should have went back home after she got her degree. But that's what's happening. They're going off to college and they're just staying there. Well, I got a job at AT&T, or I'm gonna just stay here. In she's from North Carolina, but now she's in Atlanta, and her daddy can't cover her, and so she's out in Atlanta getting smashed and heartbroken. She's clubbing, she's partying. She's going to the lounges and shit. And next thing you know, she's fucking it. She's the guys are telling her everything that she wants to hear, but she doesn't know any better. And now niggas ain't shit. And the niggas she's picking ain't shit. But if Shannon was to say, hey, you know what? You don't want to mess with him, but I like him, but I'm trying to save you for long term. Do you want long-term success, or you want to have an orgasm tonight? Because if you want to have an orgasm tonight, you don't need me. You can go pick who you want. But if you want long-term success, don't fuck with him. Then I think things would be a lot better in this pissy dating pool. That's just one. But if we leave it to people's own devices, it ain't happening. I don't think.
Yeah, me personally, I don't subscribe to the idea that there's a pee in the dating pool or whatnot. Like,
Thank
for
you.
me, I've never seen a dirty pool that I wanted to swim in. So for me, when I see a pool, that's dirty and filthy, I'm not even I don't want to swim in that pool at all. You know what I mean? So for me, it's like, for example, and Shan can probably understand this. We have a lot of beaches here in LA. I don't want to go to Dockweiler. Like, I'm not trying to fix Dockweiler Beach up, because I'd rather go somewhere else. I go up the streets in Manhattan, Hermosa, where like there's plenty of the beaches where I can go to not deal with the shit that comes with Dockweiler Beach. Like, the time that I'm wasting trying to fix Dockweiler Beach, I'm missing out on just go to another beach. Like, so for me, I don't see the piss in the pool, because I'm out. Like, I ain't going to them type of beaches. So
That's facts.
yeah, I don't subscribe to that idea. I get it though, but yeah, any wherever it's piss at, I don't want to be there anyway.
You know what? But here's the thing, Shaheed. And this is a complaint that men don't make.
Correct.
Yeah.
This is a complaint. See, men typically, yeah, man, there ain't no I'm getting ready to do a show called Wife School, right? And I'm thinking about having Chris on if I could find a date that he could come on, because it's going to be a panel of 6 women with 2 men with opposing views. I'm one of the guys, and I was thinking about Chris as being the other one, but I'm not sure of his schedule. If not him, maybe one of you other brothers would probably be interested. But the thing is, we're going to talk about, I'm going to have women teaching women how to be better women, right? Then we're going to have husband school. It's going to be a panel of 6 men with 2 women. The point is, yeah, you get the guys that's out here saying, man, women don't want to be wives, or they just want to be married. They don't want to be wives. Or you hear them, they don't know how to be a wife. But the reality is, men aren't making this complaint so much about this is shitty pool. That's what women are saying. So while which is the reason, it's almost like you're what word am I
Self-sabotaging.
looking for? No. He's confirming my point. You see, Shahid can see a shitty, dirty cesspool when he evaluates one. He's like, oh no, I know that. When nope. Men have I get women, you have your intuition on certain things, but men know shit when it comes to dating and mating. And that's why we can get over on you so easily. But if you were to say, if a woman, she just sees the beach. This is fantastic. She doesn't know that the motherfucker's toxic and it got sharks. She has no idea that Dockweiler Beach, if you're not out of it by 5 o'clock, the tide is going to swoop you up and your body will be washed up tomorrow morning. She just sees the fact that she's in LA and this is the beach and this is fun in the sun. And Shahid is like, yeah, you don't want to go to Dockweiler though. Just trust me. Let's go down. Let's go. All we're going to do is go 10 miles down. We're going to go to fucking Hermosa. It's going to be a lot nicer. The lifeguards know how to swim. You know what I'm saying? The water is more blue. Shahid, a man who's in his 30s, who knows better, will be able to tell a woman, don't swim in that pool. It's nothing but sharks. This is the pool you want to go to. And if you're going to go to that pool, because I can't tell you what to do, I'll come with you. So I'll make sure that your ass don't get attacked. So the thing, Shahid, while you don't swim in those pools, what do you suggest to women when all they see is water and they jump in and they realize it's toxic and pissy and nasty?
I mean, I subscribe to the same understanding as you. Like, I tell people, women more so all the time, there's a significance to when you get married, your father walking you down the aisle. That signifies, that symbolism is your father transitioning his power over you to the man that he approved to now take, I know y'all don't like this type of language, ladies, but power over you. And so now it's just like, what I would suggest is shit, you got to learn how to swim with the sharks. If you don't like that.
But here's the thing that you're saying, Shahid, which is paramount. Your mindset needs a overhaul. If that's a dominant thought, that if you believe that your dominant thought is there's pee in the pool, then what you're going to find is everything that's pissy. You'll never be able to see what's good because your thought is, it's pee in the pool. It's pee in the pool. So every guy that you meet, you won't know what it looks like when a real good guy actually comes along. You'll think that, and I'm not saying all women, but some women will think that a man that is flawed and has some missteps is a bad person. And they can't recognize the difference between a good man with flaws and a flawed man.
But
because it's mindset.
Right. That's a great point. So if you do subscribe to the idea that there's pee in the dating pool, then you have to accept the reality of some of these people are gonna have a little piss on them.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And that don't necessarily mean you gotta like do away. I mean, shit, even me, like I've got my own, toxins on me and whatnot. Like that's just the reality of it. Like there's no perfect, and it goes like, and this might be getting a little too deep in the sciences, like, but when it comes to stuff like germs and bacteria, some germs are good germs. Some bacteria is good bacteria. So it's to me, it's like it's to each his own, but I think some of these ideologies we subscribe to only puts what we want further out of reach because we get stuck in these like ideologies of this and that, and we fall like victim to them. Like I said, if I'm a I don't mind jumping into, let's say, the beach or whatever with the sharks because I know how to swim with the sharks. I know how to become a shark. You know what I mean? So it's just like, if we
You know
go
a shark
jump,
when you see one.
yeah, so it's just like shit. That's how I look at it.
One of the things
So
I want to impress about those jumping in the pool, so it used to be when you go to the pool, you had to rinse off first before you got in the pool.
Wow.
Because
Wow. Wait. You know how crazy of an analogy that is without even saying anything else. That's
Sometimes
crazy.
in the pool, you gotta rinse off.
So, with that being said, every day that you allow somebody to get in your pool, you have to treat the water afterwards. You have to bring the pH balance back up. And what happens is every time you jump in the water, you not only change the pH balance, but everybody else that's in the water changes the pH balance too. So your ideal is if you're going to get somebody that has the same pH balance that you have, get out of there and get your own daggone pool and y'all can swim together. But the more you keep diving into the pool, the more the pH balance changes and the more you're going to be affected by it. So, the serial daters, the people that actually value dating over trying to get a serious relationship, whether you into multiple relationships at one time or you just trying to be intentional, like Colin said. Once you jump in that pool, you have now changed the complexion of that pool because you are now bringing your contaminants into the pool as well. If that makes sense.
And that was gonna be because I meant to jump in a long time ago when Shan was going. So that was only gonna be my only pushback to what Shan was saying. Not that he was wrong; everything he said it was correct. But my pushback was gonna be, I don't think our advice is necessarily bad. Because people do think they've done the work and things like that. But my question was going to be, how do basketball players or football players or whatever person is playing sports, how do they stand out amongst all the other athletes? And it's the hard work they put in that people don't see. People don't see them working out extra 4 hours or working overnight or putting up 1,000 shots like Kobe Bryant or arriving to the gym 6 hours earlier. But it's like where it shows is out on the field. So with that analogy, also what I was going to say is like our advice is not necessarily bad. It's just that when those people who have truly done that internal work, because everybody's not going to do it. It's hard work. It's like real deep down diving, like hard work. And what differentiates you when you dive back in that date pool is you can see through the nonsense now. So those who are faking and like, I've done internal work, you can see through it like a laser. It's very transparent to you because it's like you've seen it before and you know when somebody's bullcorning you. So it's just like if you're courting somebody and they on that BS, then it's just like, this ain't a good fit. You just move on to the next one. So it makes it easier to see. So that's why I say I don't think it's necessarily bad advice that we're saying do the internal work, because when you do that internal work and you dive back in, you can cut through all the nonsense because you know what it looks like.
Did I say it was bad? If I said it was bad, I'm sorry. I don't mean to mention. I didn't mean to say that y'all advice was y'all four had bad advice. That's absolutely great advice. I just don't think that it works today. So, and so if I had to give somebody like yo, this is what needs to happen, like pronto to save the fucking community. Self introspection is not something I will put high on a to-do list, because I think that everybody thinks they're doing that. So here's a question for you, Colin. And by no means it's great advice. I just don't think people are doing it because here's the question to that. Who quantifies that?
Who qualifies that? So the second piece I left out so thank you for that question, is you will find the person that is for you. You will find the other person that is more intentional, that has done their own self-work. And I'm only going off of experience. And even though I've done the self-work and things like that, I still got my flaws, because I'm finding out my flaws that I still have in my current relationship. But the stuff that I did work on was helping keeping this thing going. And it's not even to say anything's bad, because it's not stuff that's bad, but it's just like, but you're getting to know a whole another human being. So
So you're
but
doing
yeah,
it as
so
you go. So basically, what you're telling me is that you fixing yourself as you go.
right. So it's like but even before then, it's just like like when I said back originally what I said, you can see through all the nonsense. So it's like you're literally getting through all it's almost like God is like literally bringing you your soulmate, almost bringing you your partner.
Yeah, but
Because
see,
how me and
You on that
Esther got together.
manifestation shit.
Because how me and Esther got together, you can't write that. Like, I don't do dating apps. I've never been on not one dating app. Clubhouse ain't even a dating app. I was intentional about using Clubhouse. And that was for businesses. That was for connections. That was for networking. I was doing all those things. And that's how I met you all. So it's like, that's how I met my bros here on this platform. But it's just
right.
and it was in a room that we was all in. It was in that dating room that we all started up before Ask a Black Man Anything became a thing. And she happened to be in there. So that's what I'm saying. So it's just like, but we got to know each other, and it was long distance. I don't do long distance relationship. I don't do dating apps. Two things I don't do end up be the perfect match. And then when we did that first call, it was just like, wow, everything's in line, and it's even taking it further than that. It's just like we got to get to know each other on a mental, physical level, because you're 2,000 plus miles away. You're in a whole nother country. So it's just like, but you see where we are today. It's just like our relationship has gotten stronger. So I think when you do that, God sees your intent. People might not be turned off by this, but God sees your heart. God sees your intentionality. And he's just like, okay, this person is ready. Now I'm going to bring the person that's right for him, that's done their work too, and put them on a crash course to meet. Because like I said, you will sift through all the nonsense and through all the riffraff, and you'll be met with the person that's for you. And if not, then like what y'all was saying, you see the sharks, you see it's toxic. Okay, well, I just ain't swimming. I'm just gonna focus on this, because I can definitely relate with what Shaheed said, because I did my 7-year hiatus, because I saw how trash the dating market was, and I was like, I'm not doing dating for 7 years. I'm focusing on this. So
for me,
here's what I'll say.
Oh, go ahead.
Here's what I'll say in reference to how to fix the dating market or the pool. One of the things that I think is absolutely true is what Shan said. If I am evaluating myself, then I'm going to think I'm absolutely right, which means that I have no level of accountability to myself or to anyone else to make sure that what I'm doing is actually getting me the results that I want.
Can you say that one more time, Chris? Say that one more time. You almost made me want to call my friend and just let him hear you say that, man. Say that one more time so I can find it in the recording later on. Say that what you said.
He want to clip it. He want to clip it, Chris.
It was at the 2 hour and 39 minute mark.
All right. He can't do it twice.
I'll send you the clip.
No, I like that.
I'll send you the clip. It'll be clipped soon. Anyway, so that's the first part, right? So if you have someone, and I'm not talking about your friend that is a yes man, right? Or a yes woman, right? Not that person. Have somebody that literally will correct you, and you be willing to, here's the buzzword, submit to their correction. I have a mentor that's been in my life for the last 15 years that I listen to him regardless of what he says. He says it, I do it. It's that simple, right? Because he has my best interest at heart. So that's tool number one. Tool number two is when Colin says be intentional, it's not where you from, how many kids you have, how much money do you make. That's not being intentional. We're in such a high tech environment that we don't have high touch, where we have lost the art of genuine conversation. More people are drilling each other with just questions. You're not actually taking the time to have genuine conversation, and then littering that genuine conversation with questions. While you're on the path of being intentional, here's tip number 3. You must be organic. You can't be so intentional. And here's where I know I did this in my relationship with my ex-girlfriend in 2019. Everything I did was absolutely all intentional, but I never really organically got an opportunity to know her. And we're not together now. Why we're not together? Because I made the mistake of being 1,000% intentional, and I didn't let our relationship organically grow because I was trying to control every single thing at every step of the way. I didn't develop regular, just organic conversation. I wanted to see it. I had to have it now, and it had to be right away. And it wasn't until I learned how much I was messing up, just as a point of personal privilege and vulnerability, I learned where I messed up. But I corrected it because I saw it didn't get me the results that I wanted. And so I had my friends and I had my mentor to talk to me to get me back to a place, okay, these are the things you need to correct. So those are three, but more importantly, the last thing that I'll say is you need to just let your guard down. So many people are in the dating arena and their guard is up like Fort Knox. You don't want anybody to get close to you. I heard things like men have to prove that they're good leaders. They have to prove that they're worthy. Or women have to prove that she can follow me, or I can tell her what to do. People are worthy because they're humans. They shouldn't have to prove per se that they're worthy, but they should have to put in effort to show that they are the type of person that you need. And here's the last thing that I'll say, because I find that most people have no idea what they're looking for. They think they know, but they don't. And I'll say it, and I've always said it, and I'll continue to say it because it always rings true. Make a list of the type of person that you want. Create that list. Let me finish. And then once you create that list, ask yourself, if I have this guy, let's say it's a woman, you want a woman that's a certain height, that looks a certain way, that talks a certain way, a woman that, treats you a certain way, that compliments you, flirts with you. She does all of those things and she's just an ideal woman. Ask yourself, what kind of man does that woman want to be with? And then you put in the intentional work of creating the daily habits to become that man that she would want. And eventually, the person on your list will automatically draw to you. Automatically.
I'm gonna push back a little bit on that because I think it's too much technicality in that. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of people, men and women, are dating from a place of hurt. That's why their guards can't come down. Their guards won't come down because of fear of being hurt again. And you heard me say this a year ago, and I'm gonna say it again. We all eat lies when we're hungry. You can make that whole list and read it out and portray it as you have written it. And you got folks out here with no intentions of loving you or trying to get to know you organically. They will adapt to your list to get one thing. And once they get it, they out. So what happens is you can be intentional all you want to, but I believe that most of us, men and women, are typecast. And we can look back in our dating pool or our dating history and look at that one person that left an indelible mark on our heart. And and some of us, most of us, are trying to still find those attributes in other people. That's why you can see people go from person to person, and the person that they dated before looks like the person that they're dating now. Because they're getting stuck. They're getting stuck. And you can tell somebody exactly what you want, and folks will adapt to that. I agree with you on the organic part. Just got to be yourself, and hopefully you meet somebody that's loyal to who they are and the truth of who they are, and they won't step up to you with their representation.
But here's the thing I'm saying, Daryl. I'm not saying to tell somebody else what's on my list. I'm never telling anybody well, let me rephrase. I tell people what's on my list because it makes you a better person. So, for example, my list will be something like a woman who prays for me and prays with me, a woman who encourages me. Those things make you a better person. A woman who knows how to flirt, knows how to compliment, knows how to be helpful, right? Those things make you a better person. So even if you're playing the game, I still have to take the time to vet you, right? So I'm not, even if you give me everything, I'm not just going to give you all of me, right? In the first 30 days, the first 2 weeks, you take your time to get to know that person over the next 3, 6, 9 months or so before you just drop down and give them every fiber of your being.
You know what?
So I agree with you there. Don't tell a person everything on your list, but if you have things that make a better human on your list, not like, oh, they buy me flowers, they take me on dates. Anybody can do that, right?
Yeah.
So those are the things that I'm saying. But go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I get that. Just one more thing, and I'm gonna jump back off the mic, man. You said something that was key, and the key portion of that is that you're not going to tell them, but you will hope that they would be the best version of themselves. See, a lot of times we're looking at people to be something that they're not, or to be like us. But you got to allow people to be themselves. And a lot of times we have this perfect picture of who we want, but it doesn't necessarily reflect when you go through the process. And with that being said, the reason why I believe we're losing out is because men and women are given too much too soon. And like Shannon said, they tell you that they want marriage and this and this and that, but folks go into Pound Town first and then try to figure it out after the fact.
Cool.
So I'm gonna work.
Real quick, because I know we're right at about 3 hours. Is Lisa still with us, Colin?
Nah, she gone.
Okay, go ahead, Shahid.
I'm actually learning a lot. Like I just had a lot of just things pop in my head just listening to the back and forth. I do kind of agree with Shan on the sense of like I think once you start self-evaluating and becoming a better person as a response to the dating, I think you've already kind of you behind in the game. Like, and it to me now, what I'm hearing, not from necessarily anybody here, but I saw a comment that says self-evaluation is important. But I mean, I think self-evaluation should start like once you're able to kind of think on your own, and like once you hit puberty, that's when self-evaluation really should take place, and it should progress up until you become an adult. And I've never really had a bad experience when it comes to dating. Yeah, I've had like stuff here and there, but when it came to actual relationships, I don't believe I've had one failed relationship, because I don't look at a relationship that as something that's supposed to end in marriage. Like I'd be a fool to think that I was supposed to marry the girl I fell in love with from high school. Like when my relationship ends, I look at it as either I grew, I moved to another level that person wasn't able to elevate to, or the other way around. Now, so when I see when I'm like hearing that I need to take time and work on myself, it's just like, so it sounds to me like people are taking time to become better people as a response to the dating game being a little shaky for them. Like I can admit, I've never tried to become a better person for the sake of a relationship. Like, so I've tried to become a better person just to become a better person, like, because the reality is I'm in this world by myself, regardless if I'm married, single, or whatever. I have to navigate this world alone. You know what I mean? In a sense, whether I have a wife or not, you still have to face society head on because your problems are going to be your problems, whether they affect your wife, your kids, etc. So I think like going into dating and then realizing like, oh, I need to step away and work on myself is like, well, damn, like what about just being like becoming trying to be, I mean, it's hindsight 2020 once you're out of it and starting to work. But yeah, I think like just improving on ourselves individually out regardless if we are in a relationship or not, dating or not, married or not, is one thing. And also like as far as Colin, I forgot what Colin said, but it stood out to me. Um, yeah, it was about the becoming a better person. You'll find who's for you. But even with that, like I don't think you need to become a better person to find who's for you. Like I know literally piece of shit people that are living happily ever after because they found that person that fits them. And you know that their life may be crumbling all around them, but that's the life that they choose to live. And you know what I mean? And we may look at it like, oh, your life is crumbling around you. Um, but it's just like shit, to them, they at Disneyland. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. And even with the a lot of people having their guards up because they're dating from a place of hurt, that's like to me, it's like they don't want to be hurt again. Don't get in the dating game, man. You have to embrace the hurt. When you jump into a boxing ring, you have to embrace getting punched in your mouth. Like it's just the reality. Like,
it's a casualty of dating.
yeah, it's like you're going to get hurt. You have to embrace the hurt. Like I've been hurt plenty of times. I've hurt plenty of times. But I've embraced it. It's like I've never left a relationship like with the now women have a stain based on the woman that I just left. Like, nah, it's just that's what it was. It didn't work. I got hurt. You know, fool me once, shame on me. Shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So like, I think the approach to dating now is just so weird and so like, it's just I just right now I believe I'm the youngest on the panel. I just remember a time when it's like, you like me? Yeah, I like you. Okay, let's see what it do. Like, you know what I mean?
Facts. Yeah, it used to be much simpler.
It's like now it's just crazy. But yeah, I don't know, man.
Overcomplicated everything.
Yeah.
I wish people, like he said, though, I do wish people had the heart for it because he used that boxing analogy. A lot of times we get in a fight, we lose. We'll get into the boxing ring and we'll lose a match. The true fighters who turn out to be the greatest are the ones who get back up, dust themselves off, and get back in that ring. A lot of times we'll get heartbroken and say, I'm never going to allow myself to be heartbroken again. I'm never going to allow myself to be that vulnerable again. And that's one of the contributing factors to us not having successful relationships. We are unwilling to put ourselves in the place that would allow someone else to fully be there for us. So instead of being in a boxing ring, you're actually in a bed cuddled up with somebody, with the most loving person, because our mentality keeps us stuck with, I'm not going to allow that person this close. I'm not going to allow this person to hurt me again. Even myself, like I had to battle with that myself sometimes. I found myself severely hurt, and I'm like, I've always been the type of person that I have to get up. I cannot allow myself to stay down whenever I'm hurt in any situation. So you have to get up and you have to get back into it and be just as willing to be as vulnerable or even more vulnerable and fight harder for your next situation than you did the previous.
So I got a question real quick, DB. I got a question to everybody or whoever want to address it on the panel. Do you guys think, or do you know of any tools or character traits that are necessary, that are exclusive to dating and not just being a human being? Like, can you think of any character traits or tools that are only exclusive to dating?
No, I think everything that you should do, like you said, you should do it for you. and not for the purpose of finding your person. So there's nothing that's exclusive to dating that's a character trait that you still don't need to have just as a human.
The commonality of what he's asking, they should be synonymous. Because you should be this person on every level.
Facts.
But the exclusivity of just dating, if you lack common sense and you still trying to date, that's a problem. But I think what has happened or what has transpired over the years, dating has become like a 10, 12, 15 round match where men and women are taking opposing sides. The bell rings, boom, they get in there, throw this at each other, and then after the bell sounds again, they retreating back to their corners, going to the cut man, trying to figure out, what's my next strategy to see if I can win. No, you definitely trying to win, but you're trying to win somebody's heart, not trying to win dating. You're not trying to win to best the person because you're the better person. You're trying to see how you could be one. And I think a lot of times men and women are just diametrically opposed nowadays, where it's been so much hurt out there that that folks are coming semi-healed. They still got bandages and cuts and stuff. And they just, the bell rings, they just sounding up. You ain't knocked me out yet, so I'm going to give you my best shot.
Yeah, I think the idea of trying to avoid hurt is, like, I can't think of any relationship that involves love that doesn't involve hurt.
You're going to get hurt. You got to, in order to love, you must be willing to be hurt. You got to open yourself up to it.
Like I've been hurt by my parents. I'm sure I've hurt them plenty of times. I've been hurt by my siblings. I'm sure I hurt them plenty of times. So it's like, what relationship that involves love that doesn't involve hurt?
But there are things that are germane to mating and dating alone that necessarily doesn't transcend over into day-to-day life.
Like, not a character trait or like a tool?
Yes, character trait. Femininity is one of them. For women, hell, blowjobs is one, right? But we won't get before we get to the bed.
I thought about that, but that's not a character trait. That's a
Hey, but being sexy is a character trait. Being, and seduction.
Now,
and being able to, so but before we get to this, let's remove the sexual part, because fucking is always on my mind. But even when it comes to being a for guys, a pickup artist. Being a pickup artist. So there's one thing to have the gift of gab, to be assertive, to be able to woo somebody. If you're in sales and you want to sell fucking encyclopedias, or you trying to sell goddamn magazine subscriptions or something like that, door to door, or you're trying to convince somebody to get the next cell phone plan at T-Mobile. But if you're not in sales, what if you do something else? What if you're just a truck driver? What if you're a mailman? But you're still a great pickup artist. So that's a trait. To be able to assert yourself into a crowd of women that's at a bar, and you see one that you like, and you need to be able to talk. So there's small things. So there's the pickup artistry of that, right? With women, femininity, right? Because we talk about I talk about the 5S: fit, feminine, friendly, faithful, and fun. So number 2, feminine, is something that men need or want, particularly for a relationship, but doesn't necessarily transcend over to other traits. You don't need to be feminine at work, per se. You don't have to be feminine with your mama. You don't need to be feminine when you answer the door or get the mail from the mailman, or when you go to 7-Eleven to get drinks.
But you do have to be feminine for yourself, though.
No, and you have to be feminine. If you're a mother to a daughter, you have to be feminine.
Well, but now you're adding. Now you're at, what if you don't have any children?
You have to be feminine just as a human. It has to be a practice something that you practice, because it's not something. It's not like a pair of jeans. You can just jump
practicing it for what? But Well, one, it should be inherent, right? Typically it should be inherent for most women. It's
Right.
not.
It should just be a part of your character.
Right, but my thing is, where is that beneficial outside of dating and mating?
But you're proof when you say it should be inherent. You that's it. That should
Okay,
already.
Yeah, I get it. But you said what traits are there that pertain to relationships that is not useful or necessary in life, right? And so I'm just saying,
You can be feminine in business. You don't have to be ultra masculine.
I personally just don't view femininity as a character trait, though. Like that.
Yeah, that's a person as a character trait, femininity.
No, because your like my masculinity is not part of my character. It's just my masculinity.
Square that circle for me.
It's my old character.
My masculinity has nothing to do with my character. Like I'm masculine whether I have good character or bad character. That's it. Like my disposition is my disposition. Whether I'm a good human being or a bad human being, I'm either masculine or a little less.
I think we get into the semantics of words, but okay, I got you. Another one, it could be. I mean, but I'm just saying that there's things out there. Faithfulness. You
have to be faithful to whatever it is you do. That's what I'm saying. Like I don't, and this is just my opinion. I don't see anything that you need exclusively for dating that you don't need just in life as a person.
Well, I just named 3. I just gave you 2: pickup artists for men and femininity for women.
But when you said that pickup artist, I immediately thought about me being able to recruit a particular player that I want to come on my team. Like I'm a coach. I want you to come play for my team. I need to know how to speak a certain language and get you to influence you to come over here and play with me and leave the team or the school that you with.
And the manner in which you recruit a player to play on a team of some sort is going to be starkly different than the manner in which you go and talk to a chick at a night.
But it's still a skill set. It's still a skill set.
Listen, if you're committed to misunderstanding what I'm saying, then we don't have to talk about it. But I think you understand what the fuck I'm saying.
No, Shan, what you just said is all I'm going to do is I'm going to change my tone. I'm going to change the vocabulary that I'm going to use. I'm still going to use that same skill with just a different tone. I'm gonna probably have cologne on. I'm gonna probably be dressed different. That's the only difference. The skill is still being executed.
No, because you're selling the team, not yourself.
Exactly.
If I'm trying to recruit somebody to come to my school versus the next school, I'm gonna show them the dormitories. I'm gonna show them. I'm talking about somebody selling themselves to get into a relationship with somebody.
Right. You still are using your skill of sell. If I sell a chair versus a car, I'm still selling.
Okay. All right, cool.
I just don't see like anything exclusive to dating versus real life. Like it's just we tweak a couple things here and there, but we still doing the same thing.
All right. Okay, I got you. I think that people could recruit. I think you can have a recruiter that can sell UCLA versus USC and don't know how to talk to women. But if you guys think that's one and the same, then fine.
That's not the example you just used is not the same because I
want you to come be a Trojan. I want you to go to USC and you're a star player at Crenshaw. But UCLA is trying to recruit you. I'm gonna sell you USC better than UCLA is gonna sell UCLA. As a recruiter is what you're talking about, right? That's the example you use. I'm just using your example.
That's not the example I use. I said, come play for me.
What do you mean, come play for me?
I'm the coach.
Okay. Right. Come play. So I'm the coach. I'm the coach. Like in fucking Boys in the Hood, right? The coach wants you to come. I'm the coach of the team, not my recruiter. I'm actually the head coach.
Yeah, you're missing. What I'm saying is, it's the same difference. Hey, Johnny, whatever your name is, I want you to come play for me. We have nice shoes. We got a nice gym. It's no different. Going to the woman. I got a big house. I got a nice car. It's the same skill that I'm using. What difference in that skill? What's the difference in that skill
That's
set?
what y'all missing is y'all talking about a skill set. If a shoe salesman wants to jump in and start selling houses on day one, he ain't gonna do it. There's an understanding with the person who sells schools to schools, sells schools to students. There's an understanding about schools. There's an understanding with people who can talk and have the dialect to work and talk with women. The skill set is still the same. You can still go out and you can talk to women and you have the same capabilities, but your understanding of what it is you're selling is what you guys are really talking about to me. Because if you understand how to sell a school, you understand how to sell a school. But if you don't, I can be the greatest salesman and not know how to talk to women. Or I can be the one who knows how to talk to all the women, but not be able to sell a damn thing. The skill is the same, but the understanding of what it is you're selling is different.
I agree. Hey, what I'm saying is there's nothing that you need to learn and possess that you don't need to learn and possess outside of that. That's what I'm saying.
I actually agree with your thought. Because they go hand in hand. It's just a matter of what it, like if the salesman decided, I'm going to learn about women. I'm going to learn how to talk to women. The salesman is going to be highly successful because he already has that gift of sales and he already knows what rejection feels like. He's going to walk in being successful.
Well, we're at the 3 hour mark. We are glad that you all joined us tonight.
Ooh, doggy.
Damn, it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh,
3.
Happy birthday, Mr.
And since I've been sold on not selling cars, but selling books and being able to have the skill set to talk to women, no outros. Send us home.
It's Colin's birthday, man. You already wish him happy
Oh,
birthday.
yeah. Man, happy birthday, Colin Hardiman, man. I apologize. I meant to do it earlier. Trying to wait for everybody to get here. Everybody say happy birthday.
You gonna do the Stevie Wonder version?
I didn't drink.
Birthday, dog.
Happy birthday.
Thank y'all.
Thank
y'all. Got 6 more minutes remaining over here Central Time. But yeah, appreciate it, fellas.
My bad. I meant to say it and just slipped my mind. Anyway, send us home.
All right.
So Shane, you think the skill set is different?
Oh yeah, it's complete. Being a pickup artist is not something that you translates to fucking something that is necessary outside in the world. And even with the femininity or the masculinity, or we could talk about loyalty. We could talk about goddamn.
So you think you don't have to be loyal outside of a relationship?
Man.
But so here's my pushback on that, Shan. Because I consider myself
I'm getting into infidelity. Go ahead, Chris.
Because I consider myself a person with the gift of gab, the kind of the pickup artist, the flirter. That's a translatable skill because I can take that skill to anywhere and talk, about a myriad of subjects. So that's why I was just like, I agree with Shahid that, it is a translatable skill. It's a skill set that you develop. Now you may be shy in one particular area because you don't have the confidence to use that same skill set in a different environment, but it's still the same skill set.
To me, you don't have the skill set. That's basically what Robert was saying. But Robert was going to the foundation of it, saying at the baseline of it, you know how to sell something. Now, you may know how to sell shoes really well. You could get a woman to put on some fucking Christian Louboutin, sell some Jimmy Choos. You know how to sell shoes and don't know how to sell yourself at a bar. As opposed to that, you may know how to sell yourself at a bar like a motherfucker. You can get any woman in the club, but you don't know how to sell shoes. I see what Robert was basically saying. What I'm saying is the skill of being able to sell yourself to a woman for sexual attention, for a relationship. I can't really see that being useful outside of selling yourself to women.
So here's an example.
Business, bro. You can't.
Here's an example.
I'm in business. That's all I do. I ain't had a W-2 in 20 years. I know. That's what I'm saying. But go ahead. I think.
Here's an example. I can sell a horse to anybody, right? But the moment I have to sell something that's foreign to me, I don't know. I'm going to struggle with it, even though I have amazing sales skills in this particular field. However, the moment I gain enough information on whatever it is that I didn't know how to sell at first, I'm going to master it. So all I have to do in that example is, okay, what do women like? What are women attracted to? What don't women like? And then once
what you're saying is anybody can become a salesman.
what you
As
know.
long as you learn.
You have to learn that skill. You have to learn the skill of sales first.
I guess that's where Shannon's point comes in. If you don't have that skill whatsoever,
You don't have it.
What you say? Because it's either will or skills. What you say? Like everybody can learn. Just pick up the manual and figure it out. We can all cook. Everybody can cook. Just follow the recipe. And it's like, it's a little bit more. It's not that simple. Shit. Lasagna is a little bit more complicated than just pick up the recipe. You gotta. I don't know how to cook. You guys cook. I think everybody here cooks except for me, right? But basically, what you're saying is, Shan, you can cook as good as Gordon Ramsay. All you got to do is just follow the recipe.
No, what I'm saying is, if I don't know how to sell something, I don't know how to sell it in the relationship or out of it. That's what I'm saying. Regardless, you gotta know how to do it, whether you're here or there.
Okay.
Good night, everybody.